Back in my bag, yo. Conscious. ISO. Diamond. Back in my bag and I gotta brag, I do this shit for real. When we was down and we had nothing, we had to share a meal. We put the shit in overdrive with no steering wheel. Shorty throw that thing back in a pair of heels. Yeah, she be riding on that thing like a Ferris wheel. Yeah, I love them dark skin, brown skin, caramel. You know I had to bring it to the hood like she Karen Civil. When she keep on turning head, cause when she walk that thing jiggle. And we going back to back on them like we Huey and we Riley. This that back in my back, flow, we back again so highly. This that back in my back, flow, we back to change the climate. This that back in my back, flow, we bring the force like Tommy. Back in my bag, flow. Back in my, yeah, back in my bag, yeah. I'm back in my, yeah, I'm back in my bag, yeah. I'm back in my, this my, back in my bag, flow. Back again, yeah, we keep on stacking it, what's happening? Everything in Gucci got me feeling like I'm dapper then. Life has been a movie, yeah, so shout out to the cameraman. Pull up to the scene, it's going down like an avalanche. Steady going up like a travel plan. Homer Simpson face, lucky power plant. Yeah, I'm off that dope, like I'm back again to busy at the Millies. Out on Club Hurst, give the word if it's a cinch, Lord forgive me. Still having motion, dog, so why would I slow it? Make it rain on them, bust a band, then you throw it. We was steady having it, even at our lowest. High speed road runner, keep my motor going. Hey, hey. People feel away, but they don't show it. Gotta watch the people that's around you, that you grow it. They be coming around you with some plans to steal your moment. Soon as I bust a nut, she be like, baby, where you going? Never slowing down, it's enough to go around. Yeah, you probably knew it's then, but really you don't know it's now. Niggas let it show and tell, but all my niggas know me well. It was either chase a dream or go to jail, but none of us ain't going. Going back to back on them like we Huey and we Riley. This that back in my back flow, we back again so highly. This that back in my back flow, we back to change the climate. This that back in my back flow, we bring the force like Tommy. Back in my back flow. Back in my, yeah, back in my bag, yeah. I'm back in my, yeah, I'm back in my bag, yeah. I'm back in my, this my, back in my bag flow, Yeah, not for real. Double live. Do or die, you already know. Don't try. This at home, cause none of y'all really fucking with us.
Yeah. You files in the word. What a wait. Late night creeps where the shadows grin. Juvons in the cut, let the games begin. With a flick of the blade, we dive in a sin. It's a marathon groove, not a race to win. The clock don't sleep, the knives don't pause. Chasing thrills, no time for applause. The world spins mad on Juvon's claws, where the edge cuts deep in the knife's great jaws. Sit and spin under the neon glow. Wide awake where the insomniacs go. Feel the steel flash, let the adrenaline flow. Juvon's night flicks, it's the live late show. It's the live late show. Right. It's the live late show. We're too sharp to dull, too fast to catch. Each blade is the spark making midnight hatch. In the zone we own on this Twitch dispatch, where the world sits still but the vibes still match. Time's a blur in the sleepless den. Every move's a twist, that slice in the zen. Juvon's got the rhythm, the pulse of man. Locked in the spin till the morning end. Sit and spin under the neon glow. Wide awake where the insomniacs go. Feel the steel flash, let the adrenaline flow. Juvon's night flicks, it's the live late show. It's the live late show. With a wake, with a ride. It's the live late show. It's the live late show. Yeah. It's the live late show. Yeah. Till the morning. With a wake, with he show, with his shadows gray, yeah.
Hey guys, I started early because frustrated and I thought, why make anybody wait? Happy Insomniac sit and spin. Let me know if y'all can hear me and if I'm too loud. I will watch and then I will greet each and every one of you lovely people. I see Ron Ellis. I see Broke Ass Knives. Ron Ellis, channel member. What's up, brother? I'm hearing myself cut out, but I think it's my headphones. Broke Ass Knives. Be Shady, channel member. I never go up from the bottom. Richard Hopkins, channel member. What is up, buddy? Good to see you guys. Be Shady was in here early. He prompted me to go live early when I saw him chime in. And then Pretty Fly for a Knife Guy was here. And Marco. And I'm sure some of you guys will be coming back. Because again, I'm starting early. But can you guys hear me okay? Everything copacetic there? I guess I should get my freaking Starbucks off camera. That's pretty professional. Not that I've ever claimed to be. Here we go. Roman M. Howdy, brother. Awesome to see you, Richard. Whoops, there's Richard. And there's Roman. Y'all greet each other. Make yourselves comfortable. Get some popcorn. Marshall Mace, what is up, brother? Good to see you. Good to see you. Rody 7420, what is up? Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that, buddy. I never know. And that's why you'll notice I didn't play you guys a commercial because I still haven't figured out why those blow your ears out. But hey, I've got it turned down and I'll figure it out one day. Or I just won't do them. Y'all just have to miss Bobby Brady. I'll tell you what, let's do, since there are not many of you in here. I'm going to turn this all the way down and we're going to watch Bobby Brady. And we're not going to watch him for long. We're just going to do a little sound test. Is it unbearably loud? Is the question of the day. Is it unbearably loud? And we won't see it with Bobby because Bobby was deleted to make room for Pee-wee.
This is crack. Rock cocaine.
So is that screaming loud? I'm just curious. Not that it matters. We'll stay away from the sound drops. Just got a few we'll use from time to time. But I hope everybody's having a fantastic week. I hope your Tuesday's going awesome. Welcome to Insomniac Sit and Spin, where we hang out and we talk about knives and we talk about lives. I've got a couple things to show you guys, and that rhymed because I'm an MC and a goat, which means getting old and tired. If you were wondering, I am getting old and tired. That means my turn, i.e. turn, could happen at any point when I just go off the rails. And I have like a month and a half of streaming where I'm going through like an obvious, what would you call it? Dementiated, bizarre series of streams before I just disappear. I think that's what will be awesome. Ryan's trying to keep mama happy, which is the way to keep everything happy. Kathleen Smith, welcome, young lady and channel member. Good to see you sneaking in here. I hope I haven't missed anybody else because I did start early. And we always get kind of a nice little low key. Be Shady, what's up, buddy? We get a nice little audience in here. And tell me if my mic's too loud because for some reason my mic sounds very loud in my ears. But I've been told that good sound, where if you can hear it, regardless of the ridiculousness coming out of my mouth hole, it's a good thing. But I don't want to be blowing y'all out there either. So, anywho's, has anybody heard anything wacky in the last few days? And we won't start off with the wackiness because it's not really wacky. Thanks, Richard. I appreciate it, buddy. I need to go back. That's one of the things that I think it's self-consciousness, and I also think it's kind of along the lines of why I shoot something and then just upload it without doing a lot to it, except add my little intro, which I probably need to just drop that off at some point. Is I never watch my stuff. I can't. I mean, it makes me uncomfortable. I never watch a live stream unless, and I've had it happen several times where somebody's sent me a DM and let me know something that I have to clarify. And then I want to go back and see how and why I say things. Cause I do, guys, I'm what would you call it? I don't have Tourette's or anything like Tourette's, but I don't have a lot of speed bumps between my brain and my tongue. Brother Paul Mills, channel member, what is up, dude? Good to see you, buddy. So I will say stupid shit, and a lot of times it's not out of context, but it's misinterpreted. Not misinterpreted from what you're hearing me say from time to time. It's just misinterpreted from my brain to my mouth. Or I leave out a lot of parts of words because I'm not only dyslexic, I'm allegedly have super high functioning ADHD, and the only reason it's high functioning is because I'm allegedly smart on the IQ scale. But I will say stupid shit, and I'll leave out several qualifying parts of a sentence or a long rambling thought that you can see how it's misinterpreted. So in those cases, I do go back and watch because I want to try to, get better. And it's not that I don't want to stand on my beliefs and my principle. It's just that I don't want to say things necessarily without thinking, but at the same time, I don't want to filter what I say or what I feel. I've kind of done that. Um, and I think it's a smart way to do it, depending on what I come from the world of business. And I come from, Ryan can appreciate this, from a state where college football is very serious. So what I learned when social media started to come into my game, I'd been in business for a while. You don't talk about God, religion, you don't talk about politics, and you don't talk about college football, because what you inevitably do is you alienate half of your market. That's just my old business thoughts, right? So I just didn't do it. I watched people and laughed as they did it because I was thinking, God, you're a broker. You're looking to manage people millions and millions of dollars worth of their portfolio, and you're cutting out half your audience because they might talk to you nice when they see you at the restaurant or bar, but they secretly aren't going to give you a penny because you pissed them off. So for a long time, and I'm not going to turn this into any John, I don't have an agenda, but John, I'm just not going to filter as much. I'm not going to, I'm still going to always choose debate, not hate. I still am always going to try to make people and bring people together, because I think that's what it's all about. Make people learn from each other's differences and, come together on the things that draw us together. But at the same time, a lot of times I just sit on a fence, and I realize that. And I kind of do it from that old, you don't want to piss people off if you don't need to. But here, I love each and every one of you. And I think all of you guys kind of know me. And if I've got something that's real that I feel, that rhymed. Guys, I'm just going to have to chicka chicka slim shady hotter than a set of twin babies in a Mercedes Benz with the windows up and her tint goes up to the mid 80s, calling men ladies. Sorry, Doc, but I've been crazy. Yeah, I rhyme in my mind all the time. It's just, it's nuts. I mean, if I could sell tickets to go through my ride of a brain, like if my brain was like the teacup ride or Space Mountain, you might ride it once, but you wouldn't ride it a lot. It gets kind of busy in there. So I do. I always like to apologize in advance. I will be taking down the parental advisory little thing that I throw on my thumbnails, because I think you can potty mouth a little bit, and I think we can get back to staying away from those type of words. And I don't want to ever breach sensitive subjects. But one of the things that I did kind of want to talk about, just to see what everybody's thoughts were, and I have a feeling I know how a lot of people's thoughts are because it's going to be split. And I'm just talking about the substance of the words that were said. But we'll talk about that later. We'll let y'all get settled in first, because I don't want. Again, it's. I just thought from a. And maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe we won't. I think we will. I think we'll talk about it at some point. I do want to talk about knives. I want to talk about advanced weapons technology scales, for one. I don't know if you guys have seen my Benchmade Adonis. That was my first. That's how I found advanced weapons technology about 4 years ago. I never really liked the speed holes in my Adonis, and I always thought this scale set really set the knife off. This is sniper gray. At the time, they were smooth. There wasn't texture, but it just really. I carry my mini Adonis a lot more than I did. And I've still got the original G10 scales in case somebody wants those if I ever sell it, which I doubt I will because I really like this knife. One of my favorite Benchmates. But anyway, I'd reached out to them, and they're a small company. So they were kind enough to let me get up to 3 sets of scales at a discount where I'd go on, I'd put in a code and I could get them at, I think it was about 40% off. And I had a couple of buddies, one scale swap you've seen, the MSI, and you'll see another scale swap coming up. That's going to be for my brother Shane on a Shaman. But this is a set of Paramilitary 2 scales, titanium. Maybe they're aluminum, but they said titanium. They're Cerakoted. I don't know if you can see trying to get the texturing. I need to get a better camera. Got really nice, aggressive texturing, but it just feels really good. And this is what they call a liner delete. So if you notice, I've just got the compression lock side and then the scale side, and you can watch it in the assembly video. And Richard, I didn't get it uploaded today. It'll go up tomorrow afternoon. But when you look at the way that they did the clip side of this, where it's linerless, it's just perfectly milled, perfectly set up, and you can watch in the video, it just slips right into place. The washer, when I took the original scale off, which was a Purvis custom scale, because I bought this knife, not this knife, but I bought those scales on a different knife from Keith the Knife Freak. This is actually the first Spyderco over $100. The first knife over $100 I bought when I got back into the knife game. I was say the first Spyderco, but the first Spyderco I still have. It's a little Dragonfly in 189 or ZDP 189. But I picked this up at St. Nick's Knives in the mall here in the city I live in. And this is the Blurple, which is the S110V. Super strong edge retention on this knife. Again, I have a lot of knife. I have 3 Spydercos right here, but I've cut a ton with this and I've never sharpened it. I've stropped it maybe a couple of times. I don't know if stropping does much to S110, to be honest with you, because it is just amazing. Let me just give you a little cut test. I love my coupon books. And again, blade geometry cuts, guys. But you match it with properly heated steel. As ugly and pelican looking as Spyderco knives are, and I've grown to find them beautiful. I know a lot of people find them very ugly. They are such effective cutting tools. And the action on this one right out of the box, because now I've got the pivot and the washer between the liner and the blade. Hats off to AWT. And this video will come out tomorrow. But I'm such a Spyderco fan. These are rock scale design scales that I'd picked up years ago. And this is the dragon pattern. One of these sets, I've got 2 exact same patterns because I wanted them that way. One I bought about 2 years ago and modded. These are not linerless. So if you look here, the scale goes over the liner. I think they do liner deletes now, rock scale design and AWT, along with Original Goat. I think all are doing their scales here in the States. You just don't a lot of times hear about rock scale designs as much, or I'd never heard of Applied Weapons Technology. And I'm thinking these are aluminum because this is so much lighter, even though I got to take a liner out of this. Let me check something. These are rock scale designs that I bought a couple of years ago that are linerless. And this feels, maybe it's just being able to take out the liner because they feel about the same size. And on my paperwork, these said titanium, but I'm going to pull it up in a second. Now I'm interested. But I don't know if you guys knew this. When I looked through all my knives at not price, not what I love the most, but what I felt was the perfect EDC knife for me. It was the Spyderco. Um, that is the paramilitary 2. The paramilitary 3 I had when I first got into the knife game. I traded it. It was one of the first knives I traded, and for a long time, the only knife I traded, because for some reason, after owning the PM2 first, even though I'm a smaller handed guy, it's like 3.5 inches across here. Give you an idea. This is a Mannix 2, which is one of my favorites. But the Pair 3, who people love, did not stay in my collection. It did not, to me, hold a candle to the PM2, and I'm not a big knife guy. To me, the beauty of the PM2 is the way the handle is so thin, like the PM3, but it just gives you so much purchase. To me, it's just infinitely better, and a lot of people don't feel that way, and I get it because it's a bigger knife, right? Um, I'm a huge fan. I've got 2 sets of dragon scales from Rock Scales. This knife came to me in a trade from brother OCD for EDC, and it's one of his Spyderco collection knives. So it's got his special Spyderco number on it, the Warncliffe CTX or CTSXHP. I always go dyslexic when I'm trying to call out blade steels. It was funny. I'm starting to get into my comments, and I'm going to get better and better because I think everybody who leaves a comment needs a reply, no matter how painful it is, because it's a social anxiety of mine. But I've started going in there, and somebody had mentioned, and they were right, that I did a camping knife video, and there's a K-bar, and it's 1039 steel is what it is, but it had a number on the handle that was a 4-digit handle. And I'm so brain dead. I said, yeah, it's 1089 steel. That's the model number of the knife. But he was nice enough to point it out. He wasn't being an ass. If he was, I would have deserved it. But you'll see me do stupid stuff like that. And a lot of the times it's because I don't know what I'm talking about. But I'd say at least 56 to 62% of the time, it's me just getting words wrong. I do that too a lot. So I realize it's a hurdling technique I need to become better at. Does it really, Paul? I would think, because Spyderco and the paramilitary too, I would think they're the same, but I don't remember, because like I said, I bought the Pair 3 probably 2 or 3 months after my first Pair 2, which was my S110V, the blue one that's now blue. Coming back to its blurple roots, and if I ever get rid of it, which I won't, I've still got the original blurple scales, and I've got the liner for it if somebody wanted it to go back to original. But I want to say 3 months, and I don't remember, but I at the time, keep in mind, I was not able to middle finger flick a knife. I could thumb flick knives, and I could slow roll them. The first knife I was successful at middle finger flicking after watching many of Bearded Gear's videos. I don't know if y'all know Bearded Gear. He doesn't make a lot of videos now, but he's the co-designer, owner of Luft Concepts, or excuse me, yeah, Luft. Is it Luft? Luft USA now. Really nice guy, and he did a specific video on finger flicking, and he made it in a way that I was kind of able to go in and copy it. And the Shaman at the time I'd gotten, it was the knife I was carrying at the time. And it was the first knife I ever successfully middle finger flicked. So maybe I wouldn't have noticed if the hole was different, but I wonder. And Paul, you know what it also could be? Because what I think, to me, one of the situations is even though I wasn't middle finger flicking, to get to the hole with my thumb, or I was trying to middle finger flick at the time, it felt like it was a different stretch. For me on the Pair 2, it's literally just straight up. I just go for the hole and flick up and out, and it opens like, a champ. But the Pair 3, it just seemed a little bit more fidgety, maybe because the blade was shorter. I don't know. I'm probably the only person in the knife community who is not a fan of the Pair 3. It's always on people's top fives. Um, love the Pair 2, but if somebody wanted to trade me an equally dressed out Pair 3 for one of my Pair 2s, and I'd have a different knife and only 2 Pair 2s, I wouldn't do it just because I know that knife to me, for some reason, and maybe I should try it again. I don't think so. Because things change. I was telling Richard today in chat, offline, that talking about knives and how we acquire more and more, and this knife hike slash addiction has been so unique for me because I've ventured into 2 areas that when I got into much more than that, but 2 major areas, fixed blades and slip joints, which luckily I've pulled up from the slip joint, spiral down into way expensive slip joints. But fixed blades are still something that I would have never thought, and I would have probably bet a lot of knives that I would have never been interested in outside of a camp knife and maybe another knife. Um, and I have Lefty EDC to blame for that because his love of the chickadee, which, he got over that like he does with all knives, which I totally understand. You use them, when I get tired of them, I just put them in the case. Um, it'd make more sense to move them, but that's just not the way I roll. I'm different than that. But I started thinking that might be cool to get a little knife, but I couldn't get a chickadee. So that's where I got the Tucson TS 150. And it was at the time, I want to say 50, $55, smaller than the chickadee. But I was amazed that once I put a pocket dropper clip on it and carried it in my back pocket, how often I would use it to make my maybe 4 cuts every day, open a package, open a bag of cat food, whatever the case may be. I would just use the little fixie. So I started looking, which I'd never done before, at the knife stores that I went to: River's Edge Cutlery, DLT, Blade HQ, White Mountain, fixed blades. And I went down. I'm still going down that long path. That path's very traveled. I've been amazed at how many people. The Sage 5 is a winner, Paul, but I'm amazed at how, and it should make sense. I just didn't think it would out front because I was never a fan of. Awesome, dude. That's awesome, Shady. See, I always thought, because I was so adverse to fixed blades, I liked action, I liked folding knives. For me, I'd always had Kershaw's with assisted mechanism. So for a manual knife, the first one I ever had, uh, I guess, was that Dragonfly, even though it was on washers and it was a backlock. The PM2 was really the first one that had drop shut action, that I was able to get to have drop shut action. Um, Double D, I mean, it's just hard to beat. It's just a very well designed knife. Manix 2 is right up there. The PM2 just holds. Maybe it's because it was my first knife. Maybe that's part of why I love it so much. But the fixed blade thing has just shown me that keeping an open mind, you can find tools that, for me, it's part of my everyday carry. Now, if I don't leave the house or if I'm doing stuff inside, I'm always carrying a folding knife in my right pocket. My slip joint, I only rotate it out with a couple of different knives, but it's always in my left pocket. I don't cut with it that much. If I'm cutting food or fruit, I'll use it. But if I go anywhere, I've always got a little fixed blade in my back pocket, whether it's just dropped in or it's clipped in. But the people that are, when I put out a video on a folding knife, which is all I used to watch when I got into the knife community, I wanted to hear it click. I wanted to watch action. I wanted to see how people thought that they were, right? And not as much their opinions, but just watching the knives on film perform. And when I started getting into fixed blades and making a video on a fixed blade, I realized if you're not somebody like Stasa or Erica, who does a lot of testing and a lot of outside in the shop type of content, My whole channel is about how a knife makes me feel, what I think about it. Tell people I'm not a hard user. It's not something that I think anybody thinks about me that I am, but I've gotten to where I can fill the video for a fixed blade knife. I don't think they're nearly as entertaining or offer as many different parts, but the view count is 10 to 1 on fixed blades versus folders. So many people love fixed blades, and it makes sense, I guess, because what I learned that I wasn't even willing to look into early on was that a small Edgy, I'm glad you made it just to say, hey, buddy. Get a good night's sleep, my friend. Love you, buddy. Um, but I learned as a basic city bitch, no offense, but I am just a candy ass who cuts very little, that my fixed blade was my tool of choice. Even though I love my folders for sitting on the couch, joining a live, or just enjoying the knife, um, there's a lot to be said about fixed blade. Not that, I mean, I can enjoy it with a lot of the same reasons. Howdy, Zach. Good to see you, buddy. So the point to that little rant was, let the knife journey kind of take you where you go, and never say never. I've got a video that hadn't come out yet, my long-term reviews on my Strider S&G. Again, a knife that I swore I had no need, didn't like it, didn't like the design. It did not speak to me. The blade didn't seem to have cutting edge versus how long the blade was. It didn't make sense. I don't poke people or things. Zach Stuff gifted a membership. Guys, Zach, thank you. So I'm going to tell y'all to plug your ears. I'm going to turn it down, but I've got to give Zach a man hug, and I can't get the sound out of this one. So I'm going to go low. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that, buddy. And that membership went to Michael Upchurch. So, Michael, Saturday morning, jump into the live stream, buddy. Marshall, the Shaman is one of my favorites. I had the chance to explore my buddy's Bodacious, and I will say I really like that knife too. But the Drop Bear Fixie, I haven't tried a Lander 4. To me, because I like a smaller knife, the Drop Bear Fixie, I think, is, from a production side, a perfect little knife. The only thing I don't like, which is a great feature and there's no negative to it, I think the size is great because it's smaller than a Drop Bear folder. I expected it to be the same size, but I love the choil. I love how thin it is. I'm not a fan of the tweezers and the toothpick or the little awl, even though you don't see them. You don't even know they're there. I shouldn't hate on it. I just think it's kind of been done by the red knife. What am I thinking? But anyway, you know I'm talking about, the red folded knife, but it hadn't been done on a fixed blade maybe, or maybe it has and it's a good feature, and I just don't, I think it's kind of gimmicky, but these are very affordable. I took the belt clip off, which is a great belt clip if you like to carry a knife on your belt. I always switch them off for an Ulti-Clip 2.2 because it gives you the most flexibility depending on how the Kydex rivet pattern is. Or I also like a deep concealment carry clip, and I buy them from their website, and they've got, actually, if you look at your sheath, I actually like them better. Let me show you guys something. Let's share something. Let's do something. It's discrete carry concepts. I'm sorry. But let's talk about how I like to carry a fixed blade. I, unlike a lot of people, carry most of them in my back right pocket with some type of retention. I love leather with a little clip. This is a knife that's set up to be appendix, but I basically took this leather flap off when I'm not showing it, and I just dropped the whole thing in my back pocket. So, my TCAL, this is a discrete carry or a discrete carry concepts, which I'm getting ready to show you guys these on the website. Because when you pick these out, they're a little trickier. The UltiClip is easier if you get the 2.2. You're probably going to be able to match up the holes and make it functional. With discrete carries, what's up, Kyle?
How we doing, buddy?
Welcome, buddy. I'm just having a quick little clip lesson that nobody asked for. I've just kind of been dumping
Oh yeah.
stuff. But when you go to their site, and I'll leave it in the chat, but I love these clips because depending on how your Kydex is done, they're smaller, they're lighter than the UltiClip, and I find that the coating is done a lot better.
I think I told you about DCC clips.
What's that?
So I think I told you about DCC clips.
You did. You were the first one that told me about them. Actually, you told me about them about the time Kim Kell uses them.
They're good for holsters.
His knives. So that's one of his choices. I've got their holsters too. I like the way that they do. That's a totally different type of clip, but I love their clip system. But I learned about them first for knives, and I'd always been an UltiClip guy, and I was surprised because almost all my UltiClips have started to somewhere rust. And I have to go in and get my rust eraser, but like this is one I wouldn't get. This is the thicker one. This is the I think the UltiClip 3, and it has about the same bolt patterns as the 2.2, but I would say 90% of the time UltiClip 2.2, or I'd say it's more 70, 30, 80, 20. The other 20% of the time, my small knives, I'll get these straps off Amazon. You can also get them from Joe in leather or other places. Usually people put 2 on them, but I only like to put them on my really small knives because I carry it right to the right of my belt buckle. So it's literally appendix like 12, 10, 12, 15, where I kind of have to tuck it under the buckle when I close my belt, and that's what gives me my canter. But it carries it in a good place. I don't like them on my side, even if they're short or on my back, but I do like an appendix carry on a really small knife. What's up, YouTube Music Portal?
What's going on, Pretty Fly, Mills, Ellis, Richard? I'll check it here in a little bit. I've been busy. I haven't had a look at it recently. Be Shady.
Which one, Marshall? The Lulu. Let me see. The Lulu. Yeah, to me, the problem with the UltiClip, besides the rusting, is it hurts your thumb when you are, which wham, right? But it hurts your thumb when you go to close it and when you go to open it. And if you get one, I've got a couple of Oak City leather slips. This is not it. This one uses the discrete carry, but you can also get an UltiClip. And when you get it on leather, it's even harder to clamp down because you're not going right against the metal, right? The metal's embedded in the leather. So I prefer discrete carry. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but I'm going to pull up the Lulu knife. Who makes it? Do you know, Kyle?
I have no idea what that is.
I'm just going to say Lulu knife. See if I pull something up.
I used to carry
here it is.
A secondary.
It's an AF.
Oh.
Yeah, it uses the UltiClip 2.0, and they also have the small UltiClip, which I like, but your bolt pattern has to be kind of made or set up for it. I'll share it. But they're not as, to me, I don't like the tension and having to snap it down. I think they're very effective in retaining your sheath in your pocket. But some people don't like pocket droppers either. Some of my favorites are just the little ones that go over, slide over, and clip, like they're on my Boker BFF. So what have you been up to, Kyle?
Just been sanding, man.
You've been sanding, sharpening. You've been busier than hell. I talked to Shane today for just a second.
Yeah, same.
He said you've been super busy.
When talking about your carry real quick, it's hard to go backwards, but you ever done a static leash?
I've seen them done, but I just don't know if it would. You're talking about where you've got the little like paracord or chain hooked to your belt, right? Isn't it something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it all different types of ways, but yeah, you can connect it to anything as long as so that way when you pull it out, it doesn't, the sheath doesn't, you can't go too far. I used to carry that for appendix weak side with a little small static leash.
What did
That
you
way
like about that over just carrying it, say, appendix weak side?
I could move it around independently, and when I went to draw it, it would always come out of the sheath. I didn't have to worry about that because the static
There's a
leash.
chain, you can pull it out of the chain. The chain's going to hold the sheath.
Correct.
Or whatever your mechanism that's
Well,
holding
because
it back is.
that was strictly for a backup. I mean, that wasn't for anything other than last ditch. So that's the reason why I had it set up that way.
Oh, no worries, Marshall.
I wanted it to be where it deployed no matter what. So, but yeah, I've been sanding. You want to see what I've been working on?
I'd love to. I'm going to answer. Double D just threw something out there, and it reminded me of a comment I answered today about quiet carry. I haven't found a quiet carry. I own three that I haven't loved, that I didn't think was, they're all different because I've got one with washers, two with washers, one with bearings, but they're great knives. But it looks like their slip joint, the West, which I haven't tried, is on sale for $96 on their site if anybody's interested. And I'm sure it was $199 at least. Let me go to their site. Go ahead, Kyle.
No, I'll wait for you to be done because
I'm just back behind the scenes seeing what it is. I went to it today, so it should be right here.
Oh, Ellis, quit whining.
It was good seeing old Mike. How do Mike and Shane know each other? I know they're down there in the same part of the asshole Alabama.
Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan. What did I say?
Mike.
I said Mike? Dude, I'm telling you, I'm getting early dementia. I was talking about Ryan. It was the first time I'd seen him was on Shane's Live Sunday, but he and I have talked. He sent me the Kershaw to check out, and he let me keep a CJRB Pyrite Light, which I really appreciate because I'd give him the one I had away. I love that little knife. Best $25 knife you can get, I think, in my opinion. But I didn't know that they knew each other. Maybe through Lee. I didn't know who they're.
I think they've gone back longer than that.
Really? That's awesome. Yeah, Ryan, dude, you got to understand, man. I'm not just an older dude who's old and tired, but I've put myself through a lot of miles, so my brain probably got more of it. Well, my muscles and skeleton got a lot of it too, but my brain has I'm not astute. I'm a name forgetter, and it's something I work on, and I'm very conscious of. And did not know how you guys. Because you had that rapport. I mean, I could tell y'all knew each other. You knew the same people. And I knew you had, from the live stream, that you had people that you knew that were in school at the same time. But I thought you were did you grow up in the same area as Shane and just moved, Trussell?
I believe they did.
I just did. What's up, Ron?
Hey, Ron. Ryan seems like a really good dude.
Ryan's an awesome dude. Again, he reached out after I reviewed the Iridium because it was the one that made me realize I had a knife bias that I didn't realize existed. I wouldn't give Kershaws the time of day because that's the only knife I carried when they were assisted. And I never thought of them once I got into a drop shutty knife as that type of product. And after he saw my video, he reached out and said, hey, I've got a Bel Air, because I mentioned that I wanted to try one in the video. I'd be happy to send it to you. And I was really appreciative, and it blew me away. I'm going to buy one. I think they're $135 on Amazon. I know White Mountain got some for $155 in red and blue, but you can use anybody's 10% code. It's a great knife. I think for under $150 USA, can you think of a better or another option, Kyle, than the Bel Air? $150.
Is that one USA made?
Yeah, it's USA made. It's Magna Cut, aluminum handles, very good action. It's a bar lock. They call it a Duralock, I believe.
Well, that would have me out right there because I'm not a crossbar fan. But I would say that's a good price point. I would say slightly less. You have an option, but it's not USA made. It's Taiwan made, which is pretty close. And that would be the Ontario Rat 1.5 in Magna Cut, which is under $100. like $89, or a little bit more, like $199 for the ABW.
Oh yeah, and well, and
But
I think
but that iridium's right in the sweet spot though, 135. So that's tough to beat.
I did a blade battle. I don't know if it's come out yet, but it's I compared it to the bug out, and just looked at the prices. I think the bug out that I've got was like $160. It's the basic S30V, and then you look at the Kershaw and the materials they give you, the warranty. I don't know what Kershaw's warranty is. Shame on me.
I'm not. I just don't. I don't get down with crossbar locks, but that's just me.
I don't either, but why? Is it because I've heard people say, and I agree with it, it's a very trustworthy lock, right?
No, it's strong. I just don't like the spring.
I don't either. It does. I don't like the
feel of a
detent.
detent. Yeah.
But it seems like everybody's doing them right now. Is it because it's an easy lock to get right?
It's because they try to ride on whatever's popular right now. I mean, I don't have a.
Well, like I look at somebody like TRM. They did the Shadow as their only river lock, which is their name for a bar lock. And if you've ever looked at one, they have it a lot more, I think, quality and thicker materials, kind of like Ritter does. This knife was $168 and it's $96. It is 20 CV. Looks like a pretty slip joint.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate. Well, I do hate on a little bit, but I'm just not a fan of the system. But I'm never saying that it's a bad system. I don't like it because I don't like the feel of them. The closest
Which one's that?
Just any bar locks.
Oh yeah, and well, I don't either. I just wonder why. I guess it's popular for people that are getting into the knife. I know when I first got into the knife community and started collecting again, Benchmades were kind of what I liked because I could just pull the lock back and swing it open.
Right.
You know, and I know that's kind of cheesy, but it was, if you come from the Kershaw assisted world, that was kind of liberating.
Well, it depends on your dexterity. Your dexterity may actually help. So, the closest I've found to a detent out of a crossbar lock is, I think I've heard to you before, those customs, the Vulcan knives. Those feel snappy. They feel like a detent. And I dig those, but that's like the only example that I've had that I think is close to what I personally like. Not saying that
do they achieve it with a stronger S spring, or do they just have it positioned different? Have you taken it apart?
I've not taken one apart, no.
Because the best I've felt was in a bad word for a lot of people, but I like them, Vosteed Doxon. And it's so snappy, but they used something similar to what Kaiser does, where they have several different holes in the side, and they send you a set of regular springs that are installed in thicker springs.
Right.
So I don't know what that does. I've changed it around a little bit, and to be honest with you, I couldn't tell the difference, but it was snappy out of the box. Evening, good night.
Well,
Josh,
I still
Branson.
think there's a different. Hey, Branson, I think there's a difference.
I didn't see you, brother. Good to see you, man. I'm sorry, God. What?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between snappy and feeling like a detent.
Right.
So to me, it's a feeling thing, but
yeah, and I evolved through bar locks, and what I think is made me kind of not open to them, but when I try them out, I find them very impressive. And I'll tell you one that's impressive, but they're just I don't know the story of the company, is the Geo knife that I was sent, that is titanium and M390, just a bar lock, little knife, but it's very, very snappy. But what I wonder is, and I know Benchmade doesn't want to use bearings, and I can understand that, but it seems like there are things that Benchmade could evolve a little bit in their axis lock to make it a little bit, because to me, the Benchmade is one of the weakest out of anyone's, and my least favorite out of anyone's.
Well, for them, it's not broke, don't fix it, and they're still selling plenty knives. So why do they need to change something?
Right. But you change something not because your market is going down, but you see that others are getting market. Maybe you're not competing with them price wise, but like with the Dachshund you would be with Vosteed. So it would just seem to me, I'm a big believer in always trying to make your product better, even if the customers aren't necessarily asking
Right.
for it, but you see other things in the market that are structurally, functionally better.
I get that, but if your demand is high enough to where you can't exceed that, then what's the point of switching?
Yeah, I see that too.
I mean, their business model is not direct to consumers; it's through
To their,
dealers.
yeah, and
And
to their contracts, right? Isn't that does
correct.
anybody know the percentage of their sales that are to
I I don't want to
government contracts? I
speculate,
don't know if they publish it. It doesn't matter. I was just curious.
but they do well enough that they don't need to
Double D, thank you,
change,
brother.
so to
Kyle,
speak.
tell me if this is terribly loud. I've tried to turn it all the way down. I'm gonna give him a quick hug.
That's better.
Okay. Still horrible. Did you notice? You probably weren't here when I started because I started early, but I did not do a commercial. I just did the quiet cat. I'm gonna start pulling up silent films, so y'all are gonna see little silent people dancing and shit. Thank you, Double D. I appreciate you, brother. Be sure to come to Saturday morning live streams, even if you just stop in for a second. Ask Ryan. He stepped in, went and watched his nephew hit his first home run in baseball and won the giveaway and wasn't even there to have to claim it. And Ryan, did you get that knife today, or is it delivering tomorrow? I didn't know if priority. Usually it gets Birmingham in one day.
So I don't know how well this light's going to pick this up, but I'll see what I can get.
Yeah, show me what you've been working on, buddy. Ooh, I know what that is.
If you can see the polish that I got on there.
It's gorgeous, dude. Do not kill yourself on that.
Well, I haven't done the edge yet, but not bad for a glim.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Thank you, Double D. I appreciate you, man. I didn't get it today. It will come tomorrow, buddy. I'll give you a quick while Kyle reaches for his next knife.
That's the main one that I did today. I was shipped out a bunch yesterday. And then today I just finished up before the live. Actually, yours got to sharpen it still, but the
no rush. The only thing I told Shane is as soon as I get it, the only thing I'm going to do, like unboxing wise, is I'm going to take his knife out and do his install so I can get it out the next day. That's kind of my goal, is to just get him that knife because I think it's going to look awesome.
I'm gonna try to get him shipped tomorrow. I'm gonna sharpen this one tonight and then put that in the box with the shaman and that Benchmade sharpener for you to send to that other guy who won that.
Whenever it works. Hey, did still nothing from the joke? I forgot to send Jason a message. I'm gonna do that here in just 1 second. Tomorrow, Ryan. It is it just says picked up and yeah, it's supposed to deliver tomorrow. But yeah, and Todd, if you're in here, I swear to you, Jason is nowhere near not going to send you the knife. It's just one of those things that he gets sidetracked. Not making excuses, but I'll reach out to him here in just a second while we're on the live. So, Kyle, you been sharpening anything else that's come in? I mean, I know you ship them right out, but are you getting stuff in, or do you need stuff shipped in, or are you pretty busy still?
I've been steady. I just did Rockwall. I did Yoko's prototype. I did one for Richard Hofkins. I'm getting ready to do yours. A couple other ones. And then hopefully I'll be caught up by the end of the week, and then I can start taking orders in next week for new stuff. So if someone is interested, hit me up and we can arrange shipping to kind of time it right. But I was not taking on too much because I didn't want to hold on to people's stuff. So
I think people appreciate that. Is the Maverick the little tactile?
This was did I say Maverick? I meant Rockwall, the small one.
You said Rockwall.
Okay.
What is a Rockwall? Well, I know it, but I'm not thinking.
That's the little small guy. It's
Oh yeah, it's this one right here, right?
Yeah.
I love the action of this little knife, but I very rarely carry it. I wonder why that is. I think it's because I don't carry my mini bird Sweeney as much as I should. I just don't carry my mini Arius as much as I should.
There you
I
go,
like
John.
a 3-inch, 3.5-inch blade better.
I'm getting just
Hey,
started.
but Todd, what I want to assure you, buddy, is that Jason is 100% credible. I bought a bunch of fixies from him, and he's just not the quickest. And I apologize for that, bro. But yeah, you'll love it. I've got one I bought, and then I even bought a second one that has a hologrind. But this is the one I think like he's giving away. OEM by Best Tech. Really nice little simplistic, super aggressive Tonto Slurpee Saver, which is one of the new emojis. Richard is responsible for that, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't. Unfortunately, I get through stages where I end up just carrying the same stuff over and over. I don't switch it up.
But I don't switch stuff up nearly enough unless I've got something in, which things don't come in right now because interesting, something I was going to talk about tonight that I learned interestingly through a source that I have access to is that only one reviewer got their May Kaiser package. And people are surmising that these review packages are getting held back to people that get them. And people get different stuff. Like from Kaiser, for example, I'll usually get 1 or 2 of their fixed blades. That's, I think, all they really, want me to show, for lack of a better term. But that it's a tariff thing. That if they're not in the States, they're not. Kathleen, my most carried right now is a TRM Bulldog because it doesn't leave my pocket just because it works so well. But over the years, as long as I've been carrying knives, if I took what knife have I carried the most on a daily basis, believe it or not, it's the PM2. What about you, Kyle?
That's a tough one.
You carry a lot of different stuff, even though you don't switch out much.
I would say, I don't carry my favorite ones nearly as much as what I end up carrying other ones. It's stupid, but I carry a P or a Manix 2 a lot. Solely because I got the lightweight, so it's got the wire clip on it, and it's easy to get in and out of all pockets. And I can put it in anything.
And it cuts everything probably you come into contact with.
Yeah, that's probably, it's not my favorite knife, but it's probably one of the most carried.
Yeah, because you're like, I would say your hinderer's up there, but you're not going to carry that as much.
No, I carry it, but it's not something I'm going to use and abuse. This Manix, I don't care if I screw it up or not.
That's how I feel about my Bulldog. I don't care
if I screw up edges because I can fix that. What I care about is I don't want to screw up blade finishes that I feel like I can't mimic. Like I can't fix it. I can fix some blade finishes. I can't fix all blade finishes.
Right.
This is probably one of my favorites, but I don't carry it that often. Is the David Freeman Rook. No, this is the Rook.
Oh,
this is a custom.
Dude, that's a beautiful knife. I love the hole. So the hole was there. That's just the way it was made.
I don't know if you can hear it. This has a spring sound unlike any other. When a detent fires, it sounds like it's like a springboard. Let me put it up next to the mic.
I heard it. It sounded like thunder, like it had a big smack.
Yeah, but it feels like it's like a trampoline, like it's just bouncing out. It's pretty awesome. Then I've got Brian Browns, I've got Laconicos. Those are a couple of my favorite designers. But right. I don't always carry them. My ABWs.
Yeah, I don't have any of those yet. I've not picked one up. I want to. Kathleen, what I think happened there, because I think that was the reviewer they were talking about. I noticed that there was a big Kaiser sponsored live that Bees did Thursday night on top of his Friday night live. So maybe they looked at it as, we can just get him to him and people will see him. Who knows? Who knows? They used to be on the ball.
I missed a couple things. Sorry. B Shady hit me up. Ryan hit me up message wise. We'll coordinate that because I'll be able to take care of that probably next week for you. And what's up, Knife Nut? Kathleen,
that's a great knife.
You'd be surprised. I don't have nearly as many knives as a lot of the guys. I'm kind of picky and I'm content, which is good. I don't chase.
I will eventually have two. That reminds me, guys, I do have a TRM Bulldog. Hit me up if somebody's interested. It's G10. It's orange contoured scales. It's Magna Cut, and it's got a set of black flat G10 scales that'll go with it. It'll be right under $200. If anybody's interested, just DM me. I haven't put it out there yet, but I don't need 3 for shiz.
Yeah.
But I did want one in 20 CV and one in Magna Cut because they offer them in both. I didn't know if y'all knew that. I'm a big fan of 20 CV. And I've talked to Miss Halpern about Magna Cut, just a casual conversation. And they all prefer the performance on their knives the way they're made, 20 CV. It's always been more dependable, as the word she put.
I don't disagree, but that's their experience with it.
But they offer both, right? I thought they were just moved everything to Magna Cut. I was surprised that they let you have the option. And guess what the price difference is between the two?
It should be none.
There is none.
Because if I'm not mistaken, based on the last time I looked, which was probably a week ago, M390 and 20 CV are the same, if not a little bit more than Magna Cut to buy.
And it's a commodity, right? It's affected by pretty much commodity trading, or is it more specialty metal? It's not.
It's more specialty. It's more based on it is based on availability, but it's not like complete traders. So,
I agree, Ryan.
Yeah, I can't get into that. Like I got knives that I don't care about, and I got knives that I'll carry, but I'll use them, but I'm just not going to abuse them.
You're not going to pop straps with the metal straps if you don't have to. The 8010 is a winner. A lot of people hate. My favorite cold steel is the 8015. I have both. I think the 8010 is a more refined knife, much more comfortable ergonomically. But I'm fascinated by the Scorpion lock. That knife cut me probably more than any other knife when I was learning to use it. But I've gotten it down. It's kind of like a weird butterfly knife, anti-butterfly knife.
Kathleen got an awesome knife.
Good for you, Paul. And you got the titanium, right, brother? It looks like the only thing I haven't seen on TRM's website, and I think I've only seen a couple of people review it, is the frame lock Neutron. I don't know if it's still in, that early stage where they just sold a few at the show and they've got a few out to big reviewers. But I think that's the Neutron is the exact same size as the Bulldog. The Bulldog's a little bit wider and has wider blade stock. But for those of you like me and Kyle that aren't bar lock people, the liner lock Neutron, the same size, a little thinner, very slicey, and snappy detent. I'm just curious how the frame lock is going to feel and if it's going to have a little bit more bridging the gap between the thinness of the Neutron and the feeling of the Bulldog, just because it's a frame lock. I wouldn't think they'd be able to keep it as thin as it currently is. I could be wrong.
I have an appreciation and respect for TRM, but they don't speak to me at all. I'm not a big fan.
That's understandable. Do you remember my buddy Sobek Scooter?
Yeah.
He's the one that turned me on. We used to be in a clubhouse chat room, about 8 of us when Grateful Panic had lives. I tried to convince Grateful Panic to use that to colonize people, and I've never used it. I've got a page, but I never used Discord, and I've got a Discord. But yeah, it's what was I saying, Kyle, before I went off the deep end? That first part of that sentence, the subject.
We were talking about TRMs. Sobex got you into TRMs.
Right. He got me into wanting a Neutron, and it took me forever. I finally traded with I think it was I'll tell you who it was meat. What's the name of my jerky guy?
Mateo.
Brother Mateo traded with me, and it happened to be a knife. It was caught up in the Monster Racing debacle, which new information has come to light, which I won't talk about tonight. But anyways, yeah, it's I went down because I like a slicey knife. I'm opening Amazon packages, I'm opening blister packages, plus plastic crap that everything comes in, and cat food roughly, and human food. So to me, it's just a great slicey little package. I found them elegant, and what I love about them the most is how willing they are to reach out when you're doing something like having a event to raise money for a fallen brother, or it's just, and they don't want people to know about it. It's not like they're doing it to say, hey, give us a shout out. As a matter of fact, they prefer to go directly to the source with relief as opposed to a knife that might sell. It's just, they're just great people. Very small company from what I can tell. Very accessible. Lee and Marianne are.
Yeah, I want to order some hardware from them because under the other name, under the Halpern website.
Yeah, Halpern. Do they still operate that, Kyle?
Yeah. But they used to sell titanium hardware screws for the Spyderco Mule. And they had great prices on them, but then I went to buy them and the shipping was like astronomical. It was, I think the screws were like 10 or 14 bucks and the shipping was more than that. And I was like, I
wonder why. Is it a special class?
No, I mean, you could put them in a freaking envelope.
They were just making up maybe their margin on.
Yeah, I don't know. I just was kind of like, I don't know. So then I emailed them and I never heard back. I just never bought them. So,
Paul, what kind of you look like? Are you looking for a light case like that I use, or are you looking for more of a fancy one? I would say the Harbor Freight Apache 3800 or 2800. I think it's 3800. I have 4 of them. They're great. I had a can of Plasti Dip to take my foam out after I pluck it and spray light coats on it till the one can's gone. And it just makes the foam more resilient. But yeah, there are a lot of different ways to do it. I would not get that one that I see on Instagram that spins and looks like it'd throw a knife out at you. That looks janky to me.
The Apache is a good option. If you want to, like, the Now Pack inserts are great if you don't mind the money. There is another option where you can do DIY. It's called Kaizen foam. It's better than the peel plug foam that comes with them, but it's much cheaper than the Now Pack stuff. And you have the freedom of customizing it, creating it exactly the way you want it.
Like if you wanted a pew in there, or a drone, or camera.
Yeah, you cut it with a hot knife, and it actually holds its rigidity.
Paul, was it a titanium hollow? Because I know the hollows that one guy does, and I would think there'd be. Kyle, what do you think? What do you think costs to go from a TRM flat grind to having an older gentleman put a hollow on it that looks really sick? By hands.
I mean, I can tell you what Brian Transparent Knives
that's kind of what I was looking at. I mean, what is
he's
going
around? He's a little over 100,
and he has that as a professional skill, right?
Yeah, I mean,
okay, so that was what we would think that it should be. So if that would be right, if it's titanium, Paul, was it titanium? Yep, blister skin titanium. So those list for about $3.99, I think. Without the hollow grind, so that's about $100 difference. Let's just look.
If it's the same guy that was doing the ones for ProTech, that's Mike Erie.
His name is on it. Let's look.
Yeah, a lot of those ProTech ones, they were also doing like polished blades as well too. So it wasn't just a hollow. It was
Let's do this. Again, it seems like too thin of a knife. Now the Bulldog has a much thicker spine. But let's go here real quick. Here, this. So yeah, it's stone washed. All of them are. And then the hollow. There's a G10 one for $315. I'm sure it's going to be titanium $490.
Knife Nut. I just posted a link to that website for the Kaizen foam.
I'm gonna pull it up. Hey, does that not look like a deep hollow for such a thin knife?
Yeah, I mean reasonably, but I don't know what if they change. I don't know what the blade stock is either.
The blade stock did not change. My understanding is
that doesn't look much different than that one.
They're the same. They're just different handles.
Okay,
that's
well, I can't see because it's not colored. It's real kind of.
Yeah, it's not. It's still stone washed.
I meant the picture. It looked like it's kind of. I don't know. There we go. It's a little better.
It looks a little shinier, doesn't it?
Holy crap!
That's a different knife.
No, I just meant that picture is like
bright.
Yeah, it's hard to see detail of it.
It still looks like it's been tumbled again, or something, whatever you call it. But I think that looks really cool. I would love to have one. And in G10, it's $315, and a regular Atom is. I've noticed, like other dealers, they're more in stock. If anybody, I had to wait and chase these things when I was buying them. So in G10, $315, so not even $100.
Paul, that's what I was asking because I wasn't sure because that depends on blade stock. So the thicker the blade stock, the deeper you can get the hollow. If it's and typically TRM does pretty thin blade stock, so you can't get as deep of a hollow.
It is 0.390.
What? No, go back down.
That's, that handle thickness?
That's overall handle thickness. Does it say blade?
0.090.
Yeah.
Let's see if the hollow is the same. Hold on. But that's thin, right, Kyle, by Polygon standards?
Well, it's thin by just blank standards to begin with. So you don't have a lot of room to get a deep hollow in that.
Mike Irie, is that who you said?
Yep.
That's who's doing it. And for some reason, I don't think they've changed, but it doesn't have the spec on this sheet. Maybe if I go G10, it will. Hold on. No. Yeah, but basically after customer requests, they're just taking these and modifying them.
Yeah, so they're not doing like the fancy ProTech ones where they're actually getting a polished blade after the regrind. So the upcharge shouldn't be more than just what a regrind charge would be. So 100.
You would think that'd be pretty. I mean, they're not going to be a ton of those out if one guy's doing them.
Correct.
So, Paul, going back to your point, if you're in the position, I would grab one. I would love to have one of those.
I mean, I don't. If you think it's going to go up in value, maybe, but I don't see a benefit to it because it's $100 more or $100 and some dollars more, and you're not going to get. I mean, even if you're using it as a user, you're not going to get drastic performance difference between that and the flat with that thin of blade stock. So
for me,
that's more of a collector's piece, I guess. But
that's what I was going to say. For me,
but
it's
again,
more.
Do we think that's actually going to hold new value or not, though?
No, but for me, I wouldn't be buying it to sell it down the road.
I understand.
Let's see if I can share this, what you just shared. Oh, do this.
I just meant you're paying extra for that exclusivity that may not be worth it, is all I was getting at.
Correct. It's not going to be worth it on the long-term value mode. So all of these are customizable foam, right?
Yeah, they do all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can
get a Pelican case if you bought a Apache because they're the same dimension. So these
they actually have ones for Apaches on there too. If you go up to the top,
really?
Yeah, go up to the very top and
more categories.
Under products,
Oh, they
hard
were
case
exactly.
inserts. I thought they had them under. Maybe they just have them under the same now, but they used to have them separated. But I guess they just
Well,
have.
I thought they were the exact same size. I
Could
thought
be.
they were blatant, or if you want to call them copies. And there was a conversation going on about copies and clones in the YouTube creator group. And I don't know if Big Red just Googled it, but he made it sound like they weren't too different. And I think a clone is not what the Apache is. I think it might be a copy that's branded as something different. Let's see if it maybe says on here that it also fits.
Well, what you can do too is if they don't actually have the one for Pelican, you can get just the if you go to the foam sheets and tools, you can get just the customizable foam sheets and
And
pick
cut them yourself.
and or get the exact size you need. And you get the dimensions from the Harbor Freight website.
Well, I've looked at them because I was looking at some Nowpack inserts, and maybe Nowpack has, because they're exactly the same size. I don't know if they use the same amount of foam, but they're the same height. I think the cheap ones, and they don't have anything here.
If you go to products and then go to the first one, foam inserts and sheets, and then go over to customizable foam sheets. So then if they have them in different sizes that will fit inside of that
Apache. So if we go
Apache
here and see what the dimensions are, there should be sheets that are
right, and or you can actually get them customizable, like where you go down to the bottom and they give you exact customizable dimensions if you wanted to order it that way.
All right, so 3800 is the one I've got several of, and swore I wouldn't buy any more, and have not in 3 years. I've gotten rid of knives, and I've got like 4 knives that won't fit in them.
Well, you're a big boy. You can cut your own foam.
I'm a great. I don't pluck my foam. I use my Spyderco Ikushi and go in and cut it. I've got some great looking foam here. So $27.99. I didn't know Walmart had them. I thought that was I guess that's not a Harbor Freight thing, huh?
Well, Walmart sells everything. They might even sell stuff for.
Well, it's not. I mean, that's actually Amazon. It's not Walmart. I'm trying to find Harbor Freight. Here we go.
I just like the fact that you can customize completely the way you want them, so you're not limited to just where the holes are.
Correct. Like if you want less or want them horizontally.
Right.
Go to specifications. I'm visiting this site. Whatever. 6 3/4 inches high by 16.5 by 13. Can you remember that? Let's just go back here and look.
Well, 16.5 by 13 is what you're mainly looking for. You could go.
That would be custom.
Well, yeah, just click on the custom and see what that.
I think you just put in your dimensions here.
Yeah.
See what the inside. Maybe it's going to match.
Oh, that was the
14 7/8. So maybe you go with the 4. Would you go with the 14 7/8 piece of foam?
You go with the interior dimensions, not the exterior.
Yeah. Pelican. I don't know which one's going to be the same size as the 3800. I'm just curious if they're the same size, because the guy at when I first saw the review, this length is 16.5. 8 pop-ups. 47. More pop-ups. You value my privacy, get out of my face. 18-inch length. So this is probably the closest.
So
22.
the Apache 3800 is the Pelican 1450.
All right. Oh, where'd you see that?
I just Googled it.
You're a better Googler than me. What are my dimensions here? Interior 14.6, 10.24, 6.12, 16 and a half, 6 3/4. And these are outside dimensions. So I bet they're identical copies. But it still doesn't look like custom foam has a size that fits. And why would they? There's so many different ones. But if I go to
Under the Pelican 4500, there
let's
is
go to the Pelican.
or 14500. Sorry, excuse me.
Whoops. I'm a user interface kind of guy. Like I look at customers' websites. I don't like this. I don't like when you go over and you lose it. We called it a 1450.
Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 down.
Pop ups again.
Right there. Right in the middle.
$41. And you get the top pieces too, the top and the bottom piece. No? This is laid out differently than. Yeah, so you got your lid, your deep, kind of thick base, and then 3 pieces you've cut out.
It's good stuff though. I've used it for others.
Is it it looks like it has almost a treatment on it that you wouldn't need to do anything else to.
Yeah, it's firm.
So you can choose if you want a lid piece that adds. But you wouldn't really need to replace the lid piece in most cases. I've got mine on my Apache. Sometimes they'll fall down, but I've got double-sided tape holding them up, and I don't think I need to replace the lid. You get all kinds of colors too.
Yep.
Very cool. So I don't know if y'all knew about KCI tools, but if you're looking for a knife case and you like a rectangular one, like a flight case, I like the Apaches just because they're $35 on Amazon. I think they're $27.99 versus $39.99, and they go on sale on Harbor Freight all the time. All the time. So Kyle, did you see Greg Medford's video the other day?
No, I heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
And I know you're not a fan, and I was hoping some people watched it and listened to it for its context, and there was a lot of things that I don't think he necessarily were realistic in what he said, but it was he said he wasn't trying to be triggering because a lot of the people that he was talking about that are being affected by some of the things that are going on are friends that he has dinner with, right? So he wasn't just pointing his fingers at certain people, but it's a very interesting video. I didn't know if any of y'all in the chat saw it and what y'all thought. I know in the YouTube group, it was kind of a mixed bag. Most people thought, and don't listen to him. Paul, did you watch a few minutes? One of the things Shane and I were talking about earlier, unlike before, Greg just started out with a very calm demeanor talking about it. Well, what do you guys think? Did you all see his point at all? Not the part, because
it's his delivery is what sets off a lot of people.
Exactly right. That's what I was going to say. Hey, Crispy.
What's up, Crispy? I don't dislike the man, but I don't also like him. I mean, I think I'm 50-50 in Middle Road. He says some good things. He says some dumb stuff. But
well, let me tell you one thing that I thought about that his whining didn't address. He's been doing this for 15 years, right? Now, he was talking about he's got 2 knife companies, Main Street Knives. Have you seen any of those where he's shown them a couple of times?
Yeah, they're hideous.
Yeah, he's evidently expanded that. They're going to be called 18. What was the year that the OK Corral was done?
I don't know off the top of my head.
1831, I think. That's what he's naming that company. And then he's got the AWT or whatever it's called. But he hasn't done, I guess he has innovated some, but he stayed true to, I guess, what he likes and what his customers like.
Well, he was
But
doing
yeah, I
those
think
stupid lockbacks on everything for the main streets, which made no sense.
no, unless he's just looking for a working class person's knife that's not interested, because Greg's not a finesse guy, even though
He
all
doesn't
his are
need to be,
lock
though.
or frame locks.
He doesn't need to be. I mean, hell, he could get away with doing liner locks instead of frame locks.
Right. And instead of the back lock,
Lockbacks. Yeah.
maybe he thinks his market's going to be that, somebody who's just looking for the strongest lock. I don't know. And I think part of it is sour grapes for, I can see both sides, but what I didn't agree with was when he said these people that he didn't say that these are, he thinks people that have knives made overseas are not knife companies. He says they're marketing arms for a Chinese knife company. Not that that's a bad thing. They're getting their design out there, and they're making a little bit of money, but they're not a knife brand.
Well,
And when
they're
he said,
a knife brand. They're not a knife company, though.
that's what I mean. They're a knife brand, not a knife company. And what I didn't agree with is he said, now is a good time to readjust your business model and, invest, roll up your sleeves, invest in the equipment. And that's not realistic for people to change that quickly, especially if they've not made a knife. And I was really proud of, and I know people will not agree with me, but I was really proud with how Kevin was responding to the conversation, the debate in the group, because he totally saw Greg's view. He said, I'd feel the same way if I was making knives. But again, he looks at it as a business opportunity, as Greg was saying, because he said these are people that are taking advantage of an opportunity. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there's a place in the market for some of them, but they're also passionate about knives. I know Kevin and Colin like knives. I'm sure they like being profitable, because if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. But I think they got into it because they like knives and they saw an opportunity in the market.
I agree with that, but the thing is, I would say if you would consider yourself at that point a knife designer or a knife enthusiast or a knife curator, that would be fine. But to say you're a knife company or a knife maker, I would completely disagree, and I would side with Greg on that, because
Kevin agrees with you.
Yeah, unless you make it, you're not a knife company. You have zero hands-on.
I think they consider themselves knife brands, which is accurate.
I don't have a problem calling them that. But again, to his point, though, he is accurate. Though a lot of these companies aren't even doing to the point what Kevin is doing now. A lot of these companies aren't getting the effort of getting CADs made. They're sending just, here's my drawing, I want this made. So that at that point, it is a marketing company. It has nothing to do with, you're not taking on any
ownership of the.
Well, you're not taking on any ownership of that, but right, you don't have any intricacy of what's happening with the makeup of the knife and how it operates.
Unlike Brian Nadeau, who did a special detent, who then had it produced, but it was still his unique design, or Brian Winters. There's a huge difference there. It was interesting though, because Kevin was even laying it out, because Greg was talking about he's not doing Blade Show because he thinks Blade Show is nothing more than a Chinese knife show. He says there are very few American makers there. He named them: Hinder, Benchmade, TRM. Medford used to be.
He's not wrong. He's getting it that way, but
right. And he wasn't saying there's anything wrong with that. What his ideal goal is to eventually have a knife show that's one day, 4 hours only. I didn't understand it, but it would take care of the people who want American knives, because it's not that many, evidently. But anyways, long story short, he was I saw his point in his pain, and he even made a couple of points in there where he said, I have nothing against any Chinese human being, any Chinese people, whether they're in the knife community or not. He goes, I just can't compete with the government. I can compete with other companies, and I have to get better. But when you're backed by a government, and it's really much deeper than that, guys. And And Cal, I know you know that because Shane and I were talking about it today. People don't talk about it much, but China owns us in a lot of ways.
No.
What?
So I disagree.
You do disagree?
Yeah.
Who has all of our debt?
Okay, there's debt, but that when it comes down to that,
right, you can't collect. But also, who's buying up more commercial properties and real estate here right now? If you look at a country, it's not Americans.
But look at the import export and the overall who's dependent upon who. We buy a lot of stuff from them. Their economy is more dependent upon us. We don't buy that much, or they don't buy that much from us.
I agree with that, but
we could shut that off, and that's kind of what they were trying to do, is to put a dent in that and say, hey, just play nicely and everything will be fine. So
if China called the debt due, there's no way to without going to war.
Correct. There's no way to.
I didn't know if there was some other body, or because people have always said that. I think so too, Paul, but I don't know how it, or maybe finances our debt.
Okay, they own T-bonds and stuff like that, but that doesn't. Again, these are imaginary dollars thrown across the world as bargaining chips. It has nothing to do with actual physical wealth. Those things aren't something that's going to be turned in. That's putting dollars into a bank account that doesn't exist. So, and printing money. That
it's just money on paper.
Correct. That doesn't. It's not going to a mint and all that kind of stuff.
You know that.
So, but when you look at what drives their economy, they need us more than we need them, by far.
Well, that makes sense, because we do consume probably more than any other country.
That's hilarious, Mills.
But it's just, I'd heard they've been rapidly investing in infrastructure and stuff because they've got the capital to do it. You know, they're not in a.
Okay. If you go and look at their economy deeply, they're not doing well. The economy is propped up by what the government states and shows. The actual average person that lived there is not doing well.
Right, because we're talking.
You look at like these cities. Oh, their biggest income they were doing were these, like, how do you phrase it? Like pop-up cities where they were just like sky-rise hotels, but they were condos for people to buy, and then they never got the manufacturing up and running, so all those places went bankrupt, and they're
just skeletons that are still there.
Correct.
And they've been partially finished to look like monuments. I saw something on that.
The money that they spend is not on themselves, it's on downfall of others, and that's why they'll spend the money to buy land here and try
instead
to
of taking care of their.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to make money wherever they can, but it has nothing to do with their actual overall healthy economy, because it's not.
So, and again, this is a question that we don't even have to be taken up here, but I'm curious. You go to a real estate closing. I guess you have to be a U.S. citizen or a Chinese national. How do those companies work? They operate under shells, I guess.
I can't answer that.
Yeah,
I don't know 100%, and I don't want to tell someone the wrong thing. But
yeah, Paul.
Here's the thing, though. We also allow them ways to operate businesses here. If we weren't to go there and operate a business, there'd be zero chance of us doing that unless they own at least 51% of it.
And how many years have we been unfairly trading with them? 20?
Oh, longer than that.
Has it been longer than that? When it was actually on paper, where we've had tariffs on us all along. Correct?
With every country. So if you want to get to the very simple part of it, there's no such thing as fair trade. Period. Because
good point, Todd.
There's supply and demand, and everybody who has something, they need more than somebody else.
Howdy, Gareth.
So people can adjust those prices accordingly. The tariffs are they are more of a bargaining chip to try to get people to play equally. But it has zero to do with who's more benefiting from it. If that makes sense at all. It's more of a
It's a political poker chip or poker strategy to see who says uncle first, maybe, right?
yeah. I mean, and you kind of see how that's going. So
I just found it, again, not wanting anybody to suffer from it, but I just thought it was made me see his point probably clearer than I ever have. And I've told this story before, but I talked to him when he was sitting all by himself at a show, and I had no intention of buying anything, and he knew that. But he's a very different guy in person. When he's not at a big booth surrounded by his people doing podcasts, he plays a character, or it's his ego that drives it, but he's not that guy all the time.
I would say a lot of his takes are ill worded, but they come from a meaningful place. But that persona and inability to deliver the message loses a lot of people.
Well, we were talking about it, Shane and I, today, because this was the first video, or one of the first. Usually his first 5 or 10 minutes are very polarizing, either trying to get people to drop off and not write the rest of it, or he's the type guy who, when he's getting in his feels, he turns on his camera. And that's why the last part of the video is more rational, but less people see it. I don't know which one it is. And maybe he doesn't care about everybody hearing what he's saying, and not everybody makes knives. That's a small percentage of the knife community or U.S. people making knives here. It just is the way it is. Ron Crow.
There's a comment I want to respond to. Yoda, I agree to a point, but they're not exporting the people to go work those places. What they do is they go to these countries with grandeur promises and then enslave workers to work there. And they pay them more than they're getting there, but it's still enslavement as far as what they're doing. What they're doing all over Africa, their conditions are horrible. What they're doing in South America right now is horrendous as well too. And
Patrick, that's
a lot
true.
of their labor force in northern parts of China is Uyghur Muslims that have been enslaved and can doing unspeakable things that I can't even say on here to them. So
Keep terms and service.
Yeah, that's why wasn't going there, John. I was
I
protecting
know you
you.
weren't.
But
I heard if you throw that out there, the filter gets it and listens to it closely. I don't know if that's true. I watch other much more provocative podcasts in different genres do that.
Yeah, they're the other issue that they're having right now too is a huge decline in birth rate, because they were having, their one child policy for so long. They're struggling birth rate wise. So as the older generation is, kind of dwindling, their attrition rate is much higher than what they're actually bringing in for workforce. So
Kathleen, I can agree with that perception and don't disagree with anybody who sees it that way. And maybe, decent maybe comes from different places, because I don't know what his morals are, but I think what people mistake, or I think what he doesn't, like Kyle says, communicate worth the shit, is when he makes these outrageous to get a statement shirts and stuff, it looks like they're targeting the people, but I think he's targeting, it's all directed towards the government and the way that they conduct business practices. He's not talking about and he said it in his video today that he's never talked about the Chinamen. He'd have dinner with those guys, and sure, they're fine people. They're not corrupt. It's the government. Shane.
Congrats, Shane.
Congratulations, brother. That is awesome. Shane could probably jump up here. He was going right to bed because I offered to send him a link. But Kathleen, I do agree. And I see how people see that. And I used to feel the exact same way. And again, I had a conversation with him that wasn't talking about the way I thought he was. It's just I saw a totally different him. Um, I know he loves his kids. He seems like a good American, but I don't know. Knife Nut, I agree in a way. The t-shirt, I saw it. It was stupid. It was designed to be satire. And for a long time, this country put out political satire all the time in newspapers and stuff before we got cancel culture.
Right.
And I think that's why it was so, what do you call that, Kyle, when it's too stereotypical, where you're pointing out those things in satire. I know it's called politically incorrect, but
well, what people don't like to realize is stereotypes aren't necessarily coming from a bad place. They're stereotypes for a reason. It's because it's based on off of truth, and that's why a lot of dark humor and comedy in general is based off of truth. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're meaning that or you hate that person. That's the difference of understanding the meaning behind something. But I don't think the man is evil. I don't believe some things he says, but I think he means well majority of the time. So I'll leave it at that. I don't want to.
Yeah, and again, I don't know the guy personally. I can just see if I'd been in business that long, and he even said in the video call, it was interesting that he has Chinese companies that he's in contact with, that he's friends with, and they've approached him in his shop and said that the Praetorian, they could deliver to him for $38 a unit. He pays more than that for the hardware on the Praetorian currently.
Yeah.
So to him, he says, there's no way that I can compete with that. And how can that be fair trade? How are they able? The dollars don't make sense, right? And it's because it's subsidized.
Right.
Because his point is the overall goal is to get rid of the competition so you can then raise your prices.
Correct.
Again, the guy, what I hate about it is more people won't watch it because he's so polarizing. But I thought it was very interesting. It taught me something.
Yep. And I will give him all the credit in the world for sticking his neck out and his bank account and going out and trying to make it work and employing people, which is very admirable.
I'll tell you who he's really good friends with, who he talks about a lot, who does a lot of Chinese manufacturing, is the K-Bar guy. And they're talking about, he was saying that he's trying to find ways to bring more back, working with different cities and states, I guess, to try to get, what do you call it, breaks so you can compete more fairly, or
tax abatements and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Or incentives to come.
Yeah, I mean, like
Huntsville was giving those things out like crazy. That's why we have Amazon, Facebook, and all these others here.
Yeah, we got a bunch of warehouses that have popped up in the last 10 years because of tax abatements that they can get. They'll hop here and they'll be here for 10 years before their tax abatement, and then they'll move to someplace else. So,
Karen, I totally agree with that statement. I'm just not educated enough to know the best way to use them. I've always known that they were kind of a bargaining chip. I was terrible in government class and economics class, but yeah, I don't even want to talk about those. I've got issues I got to deal with. But anyways, what is I guess there are several ways that you can use them. I don't know how they were used on us. I don't know the history of it. I don't know enough to really talk about it, except I just thought the video was good. And I'm not trying to make efforts to justify he's a good person, Joe. I'm just saying that I don't know him well enough to know that he's a bad person. I know he's a very passionate person. Um, and I think, yeah, all his thing was about was kind of trying to find ways to hope that the knife companies come back more to this country. And it probably won't ever happen. He even said that. But no, I know a lot of people absolutely hate the guy, and he said some hateful things. I think he, like me, even though mine might not be as hateful, say things without fully thinking them through, just kind of because he's riffing off his feels.
Well, and people are also very quick to judge people and jump down people's throats over things nowadays. The whole, culture.
Maddie, one of your favorite people. We're talking about Greg's video today. Greg Bedford did a video.
Gregory, in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, right down the street. He was talking about cougars, mountain lions, and I was thinking they won't eat Maddie. I think you could probably choke a full-size cougar, but he was just talking about American business. But no, I'm not washing his balls by any way means, Joe. I'm just saying I don't know. I only met him and talked to him one time, and he knew that I wasn't a customer, and we just talked about knives and life. And I even asked him, I said, you don't seem like you are on YouTube. I didn't expect you. I didn't even want to walk up because I was kind of, thinking that you were just going to be an ass. And he was like, a lot of that's just me being a character. And he wants to be provocative. And believe it or not, in other things that I watch, being provocative is you filter out your audience, and that's not a good thing, but maybe that's what he's trying to do. I don't want to judge the guy. I can judge his actions and say, well, I don't really think it was cool, but I can also see how satire used to be very much part of the culture and pointing out things that were wrong.
Some people have issues with everyone, and I'm not sticking up for him because, like I told you before, I'm not the biggest fan, and I'm not saying he's right or wrong on certain things, but he's a man, and I give him credit for trying to take care of his family and make money and bring American workers and American manufacturing back. So, that being said, I think the better we can be about looking into a person more than just face value would benefit everybody, and giving people the benefit of the doubt more often than not. That's just an observation.
Well, for me, I think it's the same, except, and I think you're saying the exact same thing. What's their personal truth that they're basing their opinions on? Understanding the person might help you understand the ideas, and we can always disagree with people's perceptions or their thoughts, or even think it's crazy. But unless we live somebody's reality or their perceived reality, I can see how we could all have different views on certain things that are, that are divisive.
Joe, I don't disagree, but we're also the only nation that fully fought the bloodiest civil war to ever live to disavow that. And there's more slaves today on the face of the earth than ever before. And we don't discredit a lot of these countries, and we still do business with them. So that's kind of a moot point.
Who are you addressing? I was just going to say, I think evolution is
that right there.
Oh, yeah. I think we all have to evolve. I mean, I think that's part of it. And we've benefited greatly from that. I'm not trying to say that we don't. I'm just saying that there are political things put into place that kind of, and maybe there are things that American workers weren't doing as efficiently as other countries, which are why some of these decisions were made. But it wasn't just about dollars and cents if the dollars and cents aren't real. Again, not looking for, I just was curious if anybody watched it and what people's thoughts were. And I know a lot of people can't take the message because of the person, and I understand that. they're people that I have a hard time listening to anything they say. I just see him. I'm trying to think where he's race baited. Because I don't follow him as closely as a lot of people do, and I don't.
Yeah,
I just
I
try to
don't know
watch
everything
him
he
as
said,
entirety.
and I don't.
Huh?
So I don't know everything he said or everything he's done. And I'm like that's like I told you earlier. I'm not a by any
Fan.
means. I'm not a sycophant, and I'm not a hater. He's just kind of I don't really care.
He's definitely, I think we can say, the most vocal. I don't see Rick Hendry out there talking shit. Again, like I don't see other stockbrokers beating up Auburn football when they're selling stock broking services in the state of Alabama. There's certain things that there's no benefit to talking about, right? You're not gonna, unless you're just very much passionate about your beliefs, which you have to respect that to some point. I think the country was opinions ran deep and always will. What's Garrett got here? I know Garrett's got truth bombs. Far left.
I didn't see the first part to grasp.
Yeah, one of the things that that I picked up out of Sal's.
Yeah, because so
The trade, what do you call that? The exchange rate.
no, that's the subsidies. That's the Chinese government subsidizing to get things made cheaper, so where they can take that business out of the country that they're targeting.
I'm confusing the issue because when I look at Andre Davila's knives and the price point, and when I've talked to him at shows, he was telling me that the reason they are less expensive than I would think is because of the trade rate and the currency.
Well, there's some of that, but also then he started having
South African knives. This is not Chinese knives.
No, I understand that, but Gareth is saying that some South African makers are going to China to have their knives made, just like Andre Davila's was.
Gotcha.
Because China was making them for far cheaper than they could have them made there.
And can we address an elephant in the room?
What's that?
Chinese machining is fantastic. I mean, they seem to do a lot of very amazing things with metal that I've seen. I've seen some cool stuff done here with what Koenig does, what Todd Brown does, and others.
We're not saying that the quality is the same as it was 25 years ago when everything used to be made out of Chinesium, but they absolutely will cut corners if they can. Like steels, B, like obviously they don't have an EPA. They don't have they don't believe in taking care of the workers. I mean, there's a lot of ways they cut corners. OSHA, that kind of stuff, but they do make quality products, and it's better than it ever used to be because they couldn't get away with that, reputation of just being the cheapest stuff possible. Is it as good as something that could be done handmade here? No, but you're going to pay. That's the price you pay for that quality.
It's so much more, right? And I guess what I'm trying to understand, and I know it's different when you're looking at Hoback when he was having them made there and saying they were here, or even some more expensive ones like Custom Knife Factory and stuff like that. It seems to me that Chinese knives, when you're talking about actual Chinese knives made and sold by Chinese knives, Kaiser's Concept, they're filling a price point that's not really available in America. Am I missing something there? Or I know it's a better feeling knife for $179 than.
Yeah, I mean, if they make a knife at that price point, I think they fit into that budget realm well, and they also fit into some of that mid-tier well. But when they start getting into the the mid 3s and 4s, that doesn't add up because you can still get something here for close to that. And even if it's a little bit more, I'd rather support here.
Sure. Even if it's
And
for a
here's
knife that's got flat scales instead of
but we
the
talked about
more
this before,
fancy
Javon.
contour scales.
At the end of the day, whatever makes you happy makes you happy. Who cares?
Yeah.
But to me or to a few other people, that may make more of a difference than to the next person. So it doesn't make it wrong. It just, you have to make that decision of how you want to spend your money. As long as you're aware of how they treat people and how they want to treat us, then do what you want to do.
Kathleen, I would say we can, but it's much more of an investment. And I think a lot of designers, or not a lot, but a few that I know, have tried or allegedly tried to have knife makers make them a knife, kind of a complete package deal, turnkey deal. And I don't think there are a lot of American OEMs currently that are willing to do that or do that. You know, you might get somebody
not for
to
the
help you.
MOQs. Yeah, not for the MOQs that want, because if they're shutting down the machines to create a new run of something, then it's going to be a large order.
Correct.
That's the issue. It's not that they wouldn't do it. It's just that it's a bigger investment. So with Kathleen's point, though, there is issues with trying to find. Nothing is going to be 100% as far as your parts, because like even some of the stuff in our favorite steels you can't source it without going to places that are poorly operated. So like vanadium and some of these other elements that, yeah, I mean, but you can relegate it to at least controlling what you can control. Craig, because of low quality, that's why. I mean, they make decent prices, but it's not quality products.
And they used to not be that much. And I've noticed that. I'll tell you guys, because I think y'all know, I will usually go on Amazon and buy fixed blades and stuff just to try them out, because they're usually $25-$30. Those knives are $60 now. They're not, I mean, these off-brand knives are every bit as much. I'm seeing knives on Amazon. We could probably look at one, but it'd be a waste of looking. But they're like $240, something I've never heard of before. Now it's titanium and allegedly, quality materials, but they're companies that I think only exist through Amazon and other.
Well, it's just sub brands of other companies. They just change the name and start a new account. They did, but they're still operating. They got switched over to another company, but still under the Ontario name.
Are those the ones being made in Taiwan you were telling me about?
Yes.
Craig.
I guess so, Craig.
No, but going back what we were saying
okay,
earlier,
Craig, if you go back 20, 30 years, I would agree with that. But they've dropped off to be able to maintain that price, and therefore the quality is not equivalent. So, yeah, I mean, if you have an older buck, then yeah, it's probably decent. It's not phenomenal, but it's decent. The newer stuff is, no, I wouldn't touch.
And going back to what we were talking about earlier about overall quality and their machining abilities, it's not just that. Sal said this in his interview that made me learn a lot of things, but China is still very much an emerging economy, and they're investing a ton in foundries, things like that, in machinery where we might not be, or our machinery is running parts for different industries. And that's big. It might be a day that their steel performs as well, but like Kyle says, if there's a chance to cut a corner, and then you see stuff turning up, the intellectual property, even though I know it's a cultural thing. That's something that's always bothered me.
It's not though, John. That's something that they've passed off that to make it a cultural thing. But that's a choice that's being made. It's not something to them that they think it's okay.
You don't think it's being made you think it's being made at the government level, not at a business level? And I know you don't think that there's not a differentiation between the two.
Correct.
That's a fact, Lancelot.
Yep. Unfortunately,
that is a fact.
Unfortunately, that is correct, but that is very true, Joe.
And I wonder if it's probably a combination of bad management, not evolving, but also being squeezed out of the market has a lot to do with it.
It's
Night,
both.
Garrett.
It's a combination.
Good morning, buddy.
I would assume, but hey.
I don't know, and I just thought it was interesting. I'm trying to think what my other interesting thing that I learned this week was, and I can't remember, which is probably a good thing.
Well, the reason why we don't have the capacity currently to manufacture all that is because we've outsourced a lot of that to other places, so that way people can make more money. And because
our investment's gone into tech is what I heard, that we are not fundamentally.
All of the manufacturing we have is going into military complex.
Correct. And we're not in the consumer manufacturing. And one thing Greg said that was fascinating, try to find a toaster.
Right.
Made in America. They tried to buy all American when he had his married house, as he called it, a kitchen. He tries to buy American, so they bought Wolf. One of the only American companies. We used to do business with them and make enclosures for them out of ePay of all things, Kyle. But for the outdoor kitchens. But they had a package deal that included a countertop toaster, which he never got because Sub-Zero told them they only make the full standing appliances, but they have a company overseas make them their countertop appliances, which they have a coffee maker, a couple other things. Right. But there was a trade or some issue that kept them from being shipped, and he basically never got it. But he said there's one company, only one, that makes like refurbished toasters in the U.S. And I don't know if that's true. That's just what he said. But he said you can't find things. So many industries have been totally taken out. And maybe it's because they weren't doing business right. Maybe they were wasting money. Maybe it was unions. I don't know. It just is sad to me.
Shane, that's correct, because unfortunately society has been brain beat into thinking that you have to keep up with the Joneses and you always have to have the latest and greatest and newest.
More is better.
Yeah.
We're like locusts. And Shane, you got a link. I know you're about to go to bed.
If you spent the same amount of
money.
That's
funny, Joe.
Same amount of money on less items, you'd have better quality items that last you. Like, don't buy a pleather shitty sheath, buy a Lancelot sheath, then you won't have to have 10 of the other ones.
And I learned from Dark Gravity, instead of buying a Civivi every week for your dopamine rush, just wait 9 weeks and get the knife you want.
Yep.
It's the same money. It's not that you can't afford it. It's just that I wasn't, and I'm not saying everybody can, but I was buying knives that I've given them all away since, and I enjoyed that, but they didn't mean much to me.
Yep.
Edgy's got 2 people agreeing with him for a statement.
That's crazy.
He's not in caps either. See,
that's crazy.
That's the warm, fuzzy side of Shane. But he's always dropping facts.
It would be nice if people get it through their head that buy less and buy better, and you'll be happier long term. But
your life will be less cluttered. Yeah. There are a lot of things to say with that.
And not everything you live in life is social media. You don't have to show off for everybody else. Just do what makes you happy and be content.
Buy it for life. I agree with Luke.
Unfortunately, there are very few things now that are mainstream that are like that. You got to go out to individualized groups because everything has become that way. I remember growing up, you could go get a a washer and dryer that will last you 15, 20 years.
But do you think with the changing of our economy that it's almost needs to be where we're constantly consuming? I know that their expiration dates almost built into cars and built into stuff because
they build things to be a failing point. Is not that you get tired of it; it's that it's only going to last a certain amount of time. I don't see why people wouldn't want to invest their money into something that's going to last versus something that's going to be, a consistent, evolving expenditure. So it's silly.
Got him. When I say got him, I see like Lancelot just dropped a truth bomb on Shane. I'm waiting for Shane's comeback.
Since when does a rubber band cost $7?
Yeah, I mean everything is like it, but I wonder how much of that. And I think all of it is our model. We need to be consuming all the freaking time, or it doesn't work. I don't know if that's the way it always was. I don't know if that's the way it is. I'm just asking.
It didn't used to be that way.
I know so many people, not so many people, but I don't know a ton of people. But the girl that I used to be with, she would order stuff from Amazon every week, furniture and shit, because she had a lot of expendable cash. But she was just, and then she'd sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace. So she was at least getting rid of it. But did y'all see, remember when, who was that actor and his wife who they found passed away out in their home, and he'd had dementia, and she passed away first unexpectedly, and he then passed away. Nobody checked on him forever. He was real famous.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman. That's what I was going to say. Did you see the interior of their house when they were showing it?
No.
It was full of consumerism boxes, right? Like, I guess that's what they did towards their older years. They just kept ordering stuff. Yeah, Gene Hackman, Craig. Thank you. But you see that a lot, where people are just buying stuff.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's because it's tied to our pleasure center or what, but that's exactly right, Joe. That is exactly right. I think when we talk about, and I don't even agree altogether that knives are all discretionary purchases, because a lot of people need them for work. They need a good tool, and sometimes a $20 tool is all they can save up for. And that's okay.
Yeah. I'm no one's
I know
shaming for not being able to get the most expensive, but unfortunately, budgeting and learning how to manage money is not a priority of people. That if they taught that early on, they would be well better off, and it wouldn't be at those levels.
Yeah, I think they don't teach the basic. Even not everybody should go to college. I think college is a waste of time and money. I went, put my daughter.
No, that should be a high school issue. Like, I mean,
oh yeah, I mean, but nobody talks about it because, again, does the government want us to control our spending? No, because the economy doesn't run off of responsible, frugal Americans. Does it?
Well, it does off the businesses that sell and employ, and if you don't have them, you don't have jobs. So,
right, I see that, but isn't that a different?
You still have to be able to be educated enough on balancing a basic ledger to be able to be successful.
Oh, I agree. But my point is, the schools don't do it. There's no education for it. You have classes like home ec, which to me were a waste of time. I understand they were needed, but not as much as financial planning. But do you think the government wants a society of frugal, financially responsible citizens? Granted, yes, it might keep the debt down, or is our economy based around reckless spending? I don't know. I asked the question.
Well, a lot of the reckless spending doesn't always benefit the government. So I would say no to that part, but they definitely want to have control.
I'm just talking about the money changing hands more
Right.
frequently
I
than.
understand that, but there's a lot of different avenues you could go with that. So that's
That's why I'm asking, because I don't
yeah, and
know.
that's multifaceted. That I think you could argue both on that. Honestly, it depends on which aspect you want to go into. Because I would say as a generality, no, um, because I think that they want to have the big businesses succeed, and therefore they have to be able to collect the tax dollars from all the people working for them. Um, so those people still need to be able to be successful enough to create money for the government from taxes and regulations and everything else. Yes and no. I mean, I agree, Shane, but for certain items, I agree with. But to live
Well,
your life
homeownership, I think, is the big one.
that way, I don't think that you need to be that way. Like it used to be where, yeah, if you couldn't afford something, you didn't buy it, or if that wasn't in your overall budget, if you couldn't afford, how many people can live 6 months without any income anymore?
Exactly, and I'm guilty of that, Craig.
That used to be a very basic entry level to your spending. If you couldn't do that, you didn't spend money on frugal stuff. I'm sorry, on frivolous stuff. You were frugal to the point where you had that nest egg. Otherwise, you didn't buy something. And now that's not taught. Everything's taught. You want it, you go buy it, and you can pay for it later.
Yeah, you don't think about the long term of, is your income going to change drastically? You don't think like that,
Right.
or you're not taught to think like that. I know Edgy did what was his name? Dale? Not Dale. What's the guy that talked
You
about?
were you were thinking Dale Carnegie, but that's the motivation speaker.
Yeah.
That's the oh god, brain fart. What's the guy's name that did the seminars on that stuff? I know what you're talking about, but
What I heard that shocked me is to buy the same house in America that you could buy for 6 years ago, your income
yes, Dave Ramsey.
has jumped about $70,000. So you would have to have $70,000 more income to qualify for the same house.
The Joe, to that point, I don't. It's not that I don't have empathy. It's just I would say that if you're trying to raise a family, you should get your ability to provide for them higher than a minimum wage job. Whether that you go through some type of skilled labor or you work your way up or do something, but minimum wage job at $8 an hour is not there to support a family.
Yeah, that's talked about a lot. They're not easy answers. And I think there might be easy answers, but we're just not shown them to make things better, or the reasons not to. Luke's right. I was glad to see Shane's. I think I saw Shane's nipples 3 times Sunday night.
Unfortunately,
you got to admit, if you take all of Shane as in mice, right? The nipple's probably the prettiest little part of it. He's got some cute little nipples. I can say that because I'm very rooted in my heterosexuality.
Little milk duds.
Just little dimes. I identify with them. I was one of those guys that never grew hair till I was out of high school. And I feel like I'm back to the evolution thing, more evolved because I have so much less body hair. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it instead of low testosterone.
I need to get a drink. I'll be right back.
All right, bud. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Insomniacs. Sit and spin. We're not listening to music. Let me put on some quiet debate music. Where is it? It's down here. Down to about 9, or you just barely hear it. And y'all tell me if you hear it too loud, because I barely hear it. But I never know what you guys hear, because obviously my headphones aren't giving me a show mix. I think my first job in college, which was kind of a part-time job, was landscape. And we made more than minimum wage. We worked hard, but it was good. It was good money for back in 1991, maybe 1990.
All right, I'm back. No throwing up, YouTube. I actually had to go get a drink. Karen, that is a very common misnomer, and there are ways to change that. But the majority of people who think that just because you pay taxes, you still operate at a tax deficit based on what you actually consume from the government. And there are tax laws in place, unfortunately, and I'm very aware of that because of family members who work in that field. The tax burden that a lot of the companies take on and what they actually have to pay going out in taxes far exceeds what any individual takes. And if there are reasons for yeah, I understand what you're saying, Karen, but they still pay even with their in order to make that
Shelters and their things that
even
they're
even able to make that much money, the amount that they're paying off through all the other tax revenue, whether it be for their businesses and everything else, far exceeds what individuals pay. So there are tax loopholes and laws for a reason. And if your CPA and your actual firm is not doing those for you and you make that much money, then you're firing them because that is the law. So therefore they need to take advantage of all those loopholes because they're there for them. And if you want them changed, then change them, get that passed through. But I'm not arguing saying that people shouldn't pay their fair share because they could, but that just the fact that people think that the rich get all these freebies and others don't is completely not factual.
Would it not be, and I know this, I've heard it, and I don't know the ramifications of why it wouldn't work, but it seems to me if we went to a fixed national consumption tax, I know not everybody consumes at the same rate.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to a flat tax.
Like on everything you buy, right? So the billionaires that are buying yachts are going to be paying their fair share, and me, who might be buying a bike, is going to be paying my fair share. Based on what I'm dealing with cash. To me, that seems, I don't know, and maybe it's because the government benefits from some of these loopholes that they're able to extract. I don't know. It just seems to me that'd be an easy way to go. This IRS stuff's a pain in the ass for everybody.
Yeah.
If everybody's just taxed, we take the same amount that we need and apply it to sales tax, people aren't going to stop buying stuff. And if they're not paying income tax,
just because they get something for free doesn't mean that it's free, because nothing is free in this world. So it doesn't mean that they weren't paying for something else to get to that point. But yeah, I mean, there are benefits of certain brackets, but
and a lot of times it's simple exposure of whatever they're getting for free. And I don't know if that's what we're talking about, or if we're talking about bags of money, that wouldn't be.
No, we're talking about taking advantage of what is written to code for you to be able to file as. And Craig, I agree to a point, but it should be well known to a lot of people, and it should be broken down for people who want to be able to go seek this information. But yeah, the actual tax deficit that people take on is much greater than what they actually think it is. So if you say, "Oh, well, I owed $500 at the end of the year," that has nothing to do with
the taxes that were taken out all year.
No, that has nothing to do with what your impact on the overall government was. Okay, so look at it this way. If you were to very generic balance budget and say, okay, fine, it costs $10 trillion to run this country for 2025 fiscal year. Well, we take that $10 trillion and divide it up by the number of people in this country, and everyone owes that amount, regardless of what your income was, right?
Jeff Rocky, I don't disagree with that at all, buddy. But
what
I
does
know,
that have
like,
to do with taxes?
In Tuscaloosa, a lot of times they will give a car to somebody like that because they want somebody like that driving that dealership's car, and they know they're going to get business off of that.
It's putting their marketing money into the exposure level.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's the return on investment from that? I mean, they've got to be able to sell them if they can get more.
But I don't know the specifics, Rocky. I'm just saying.
Right. I'm just saying.
I know in Tuscaloosa that happens with athletes that graduate, that get signed. Yeah. They might get a car or two because it's got the name on the back of it that they're driving to Atlanta to the Falcons or whatever.
Absolutely. But what I was saying was, if you break down what the individual tax deficit is, it's much greater than what you pay in. And the higher percentage you go up in tax brackets, typically you pay more into your deficit. And that's offset by a lot of these businesses. Those businesses are owned by some of those people that you think should be paying more. Yeah, Joe, I agree. I think that, again, you're marketing and trying to gain revenue. That has nothing to do with.
It's kind of like a grandiose way of giving you a shirt that says decal.
Oh, okay. Because someone is doing something for them doesn't mean that they're not getting something back out of that. And that's what we're saying, is nothing is free. And
there's a return value anticipated.
Just because that person was rich doesn't mean that they don't deserve to get that free car, because they could be making that dealership 10x that amount of that free car on advertising.
And that decision was made by that local dealer, not by a government favor.
Correct. Yeah, I mean,
it's just like the companies that send out knives for review. It's not much different. Maybe it is in some ways. Yep, that's what I was going to say. It's marketing.
Yep.
And what I try to say is knife companies would not use reviewers. They would use traditional advertising ways, but they're banned from Google and all the digital type ads. You can't advertise stuff on Google search, for example.
Yeah, but John, you know this. It's so much cheaper to give away free knives for them versus actual advertising dollars.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is they don't have anywhere to spend their advertising dollars.
Right. But I'm saying if they actually had to go into a normal field and spend advertising dollars, it's way more than what they'd ever be giving away in free knives. So it's actually a cost benefit.
Sure, because we know that. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. But I also have, TRM is very, very supportive, and TKL is very, very supportive of the channel. And I realize it's cheaper than advertising, but advertising is much more effective. If you run a Google AdWords campaign, I think any of those companies would do it because their return is going to be so much greater than even Metal Complex reviewing their knife, if it is that easy to find. And
Absolutely.
They're able to advertise to that AdWord, to those keywords.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, even if you look at going into the YouTube space and what they pay for.
Chef, we're not trying to be, we're debating, not hating, brother. We're not making absolutes. We're asking questions. I'm asking questions. And we're just getting different opinions. But I'm glad you stopped by, brother.
What I was saying, where was I going before that?
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you, dude.
No, it's good. So like a YouTube reviewer, they don't pay by
Lancelot,
when you
you're
get
speaking my
sponsored.
language. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, I mean, we get a sponsored
Go ahead, dude.
video.
That's not a sponsor. That's just Lancelot's. That's what I did, was targeting marketing for 15 years and finding someone
Right.
who's interested in your
I wasn't
product and
saying
delivering
anything
them
with
the
that.
right message at the right time. Unfortunately, if you've got a blade or other type items, it's hard to deliver that message outside of somebody reviewing the knife, because you can't target
Right.
market.
What I was getting at was, so if you have a YouTube channel and you got 1 million subscribers, right? And your average click through is good, and you decide you want to take on a sponsored video, right? The dollar amount for the per 1,000 views, or per 100,000 views, is astronomical. I mean, that ad is $20K for a 30-second ad per 100,000 views.
We sell them by cost per million. So what it is you pay a CPM, which is usually $7 if it's a static ad, usually $14 to $20 if it's a pre-roll ad, and sometimes $40 if it's an online video. Well, if it's a streaming ad.
I'm talking about an ad read, like a sponsored ad read.
Oh yeah, I don't understand those.
That's what I was getting at. So, like, say I have a podcast, right, and I get 400,000 views, and I want to do a 30-second ad read for you. Typically, that's anywhere between $50,000 to $80,000 investment for a 30-second ad read one time. And that's, a lot of these companies are going, oh, I can't afford that. Well, that's what some of these bigger companies, their marketing budget is, to get on a big platform like that. That's how much money you have to spend. And to be able to, yeah, thanks, Shane. The ability to do that is not easy, but you're gaining that much notoriety from that. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time with knife companies, because you can't do that, but yet you get a lot of free eyes just by giving away a couple $100 in knives, or even a few $1,000s in knives. It's not a great investment to be able to market your stuff.
Well, I agree. I agree that it's a easy way to get it out there, because again, it's a very niche market. If you take, I'm not talking about just YouTube market, but knives in general,
right?
Because a lot of people, I'd say, what would you say, 10% of the people that buy knives, maybe 5 watch YouTube videos or even aware of it?
I'd say 5 or less, probably more like 2%, because you got, how many people just buy whatever they find in the store?
Right. Then there's a whole merchandising side of it, like some of these brands getting into Walmart and other stores. But to me, it's you know, I love my Chinese knives. I love my American knives. I'm starting to love American made knives more, only for what I'm trying to collect. But it's not because of any political reason. It's just because value to me. And to me, values, what did it cost? What's it made with? And what am I paying?
Thanks, Knife Nut. I appreciate that. And I'm not going to argue that you're doing that.
You can announce it, brother. Anytime. I announce it when I have to go take a pee or let the cat in. Hey, did y'all see? Let me show you something real quick, if I can find it. So, I play with Chat GPT.
Unfortunately.
I know. Yeah, I hate that. Let me see if I can find it. Where did I put it? Oh, shit. I'm going to have to go to Instagram. No, I didn't put it on Instagram. Where is it? Oh, it's in my camera roll. Hold on a second. It's interesting. I watched this guy. He's a really strange dude, but he's got a podcast. But his real work is he is a musician, and he takes his lyrics and he uses AI to do the videos of the songs. So there's so much stuff, and he's talks about AI a lot. A lot of people hate it, but check this out. Let me open it. This is stupid. It's trivial.
Joe, I agree, because that's, in a lot of cases, if they're not going direct to consumer, that is a pure partnership.
So I updated my action figure. Whoops. I didn't do that. Cancel. Present. I know I'm slow on the go. Find it. Let me find it. There it is. Boom. What do y'all notice different about my...
Oh, it's life size.
It is life size. That's about how far Tiffy sits up next to me. But all I did to have that done is you type a little script, but I uploaded just a picture of my face. They say if you've got one of your body, it's better. But that's how I did my logo with AI. Not that that's anything to brag about. My logo sucks. I'm not making them, buddy. I just thought it was funny. I made one, and I typed in a different script that I'd read somewhere, because there are a lot of apps on the App Store that you don't need to buy. They're like $4.99 a month, because evidently people making those little bobblehead two-dimensional things are big. And some of the companies, you can send it off and have it made into a doll. But there's a simple script. If you Google it, it'll tell you what to copy and put in there, and then you just change a few words. It takes a lot longer than writing like a rejection letter to an event you're invited to. I mean, it takes about 10 minutes for it to make it. It takes longer than it does to make a song. But I'm still using just Chat GPT. I haven't tried Gronk, that new one that AI, I forget the name of the company. It's Elon owns part of it.
I don't know. I'm not fond of any of it.
I know. To me, I would appreciate it if it was never a thing. But now that the horse is out of the barn, you see it on your browser. You see it on your phone. It's everywhere.
If you
On
turn it off,
Amazon, there's AI.
I turn all that stuff off. I don't allow it to be used. I think, Pandora's box has been opened, but the ability to withhold those doors is open all the way is better than just embracing it.
Correct. And I think you have to be selective. I don't think you can ignore it and it's not going to affect. I think it's better to harness what you can from it than just avoid it. I don't think it's going to affect its inevitable permeation into what everybody does, because it's
unfortunately you can see, like, if you try to Google something now, you can see how stupid it is, because it just takes the answers that it gathers and makes a decision, but it's not taking necessarily the right answers. It's just taking whatever it can find on the internet. And I had this conversation with someone the other day. It's so hard to search for things anymore, because it's just cluttered with absolute junk. Like, like you can know of like a song or something, you try to research for it and find something, and you go 6-7 pages deep, which most people won't, and you still won't find the answer to it, because it's just flooded with other junk. It's not a true search engine anymore.
I agree. And what it's based off of in search, in Google at least, is their knowledge graph, which are the volume of searches. You can go to Google Trends and look at that by exact phrases, but what people are typing in, and it's not necessarily, and it also takes into consideration what you type in. So we both get different predictive text if we started typing into Google. But where AI is helpful is if you give it more information, if you don't let it rely on just the internet. For example, if I was going to get it to write something, the more specific information I give it, key points, like I want to write, this is just a hypothetical. I did not use it for my description, but I want to write a YouTube channel description and then give my channel and then give it a few more words. It's only going to go to my channel. And now if I ask it, tell me the difference in AEBL or whatever and some other steel, it might just pull from the most credible sources is what AI is supposed to do. And credibility on websites are based on their site's reliability. That's why allegedly,
That's
unless
subjective,
it's paid, huh?
That's subjective, though.
Subjective in what way? I'm talking about relevancy.
The credibility.
Right. It's based on people's rating by using that source. So if everybody's getting information from the wrong source, you're exactly right. It's gonna key towards that. So if you search something, knife store, the top ads you never want to click on. Top ads are paid. And it shows you that. But those are all, anybody can be there. But once you get to the organic search results, Google's only goal is selling ads, right? And gathering information. So they want the customer, when they Google something, to have the right information based on what they typed in presented to them. So if you look at this Google search, which is probably not a good, I should have done something electronic wise or car wise, but that's sponsored. Let's go.
A lot of them will state that sponsored or ad.
Yeah, they all have to. They have to, but they do
Right.
it different. Bing is different. So let's go Honda.
But here's my thing, Javon. I'd rather not feed the AI any information, and I'd much rather go back to an encyclopedia era than dealing with any of this.
I would too. I wish the genie was never out of the bottle. My point is, if everybody is using AI, you don't want to have to be relegated to going back to the encyclopedia because you're not going to be as efficient.
It depends on the field you're in, but yeah, I agree with that to a point.
So a lot of people aren't trying to sell me a car, but these are all sponsored ads. These are called Google carousel ads. So these are all bought. But if you go down here where I am, this is evidently, according to Google and according to Google's people that search it, the most reliable place. Let's put something more controversial. Give me a search term, like on steel or something. What is the best knife steel?
YouTube. I agree with that to a point, but even their search engine is not as good. I mean, that's my browser, but even it's not as good as what things used to be like, trying to find stuff.
So the first site that comes up is Guide to the Best Knife Steels from Knife Informer. So Google has given Knife Informer the credibility based on what people are landing on. So you're right, Kyle. If everybody's getting information from the wrong place, but are you familiar with Knife Informer? I'm not.
I've never heard of them.
Knife Steel Nerds is the second one. Reddit's the third one. And then Blade HQ is the fourth. But there's not a lot.
Reddit being the third one's hilarious.
I do too. But that just shows how few people are, what is the best knife steel, have content that search term is going to trigger from their site. I'm working with somebody now who has a stock site. It's not pulling up on search, and we're trying to figure out why.
But isn't some of that your search results based off of advertising presence and SEO?
It's based on SEO, but SEO used to be, before Python, which was like 5 different Chrome updates or 5 different Google updates ago, used to be done by stuffing keywords, doing things like that.
Right. That's when I used to deal with it. Now it's completely different.
Now and I tell people it's much simpler because there's not as much trickery. Is what search is looking for is good, relevant content. Content being a blog or something that talks about the best knife steel. So the more people that have articles on the best knife steel and sources to where they get that information, and most importantly, the traffic coming to that site to get that information, is how Google determines which sites to show organically to the clients. Before, you could do all kinds of tricks, but a lot of those upgrades have taken away from the tricks.
Okay. I haven't done it in a while, but yeah, I used to go into the back end of the business website and having to stuff in all the keywords, trying to pull up the searches.
in the very top, just in the back in the code, you just layer it.
Right. But I always thought that was a pay to play thing as well too. Once you got up into the first searches,
the only pay to play is if you're buying search terms like those ones that say sponsored. For example, there's a science to that. So you could buy a short-term keyword like Honda Accord. That's going to be an expensive keyword, and you buy it based on geography. So if I'm a car dealer, I'm not going to buy it nationally. I'm going to buy it in my trade area.
Right.
If I say blue Honda or blue four-door Honda Accord LE, that's a long tail keyword. It's not going to be as expensive to buy. It's not going to be typed in as much, but the people that type that in are going to be more likely to convert than somebody that just types in Honda Accord, because they might be looking for parts. They might be looking for a lot of other things. So if you can find out and you can find out by looking at your Google Analytics, what organic search terms are bringing people to your site, you can do an AdWords program around that. But SEO, you can hire somebody to do it for you where it's a cost,
right?
But it's not something outside of just making your site better. And now it's as simple as making it customer friendly and having content that is updated and that is deemed relevant based on readers reacting to it.
The ability to, like you said, going into a longer keyword is beneficial solely for the fact of you have a much tighter demographic that and a higher chance of purchasing power.
Correct, because if they're typing in that specific of a thing, they're more likely to click on it and buy it because they're looking for it.
Right. Agreed.
YouTube music portal, this does look scary. I'm going to leave the link and pin it. But this is an AI, and I'm not saying AI is a good thing. I joke about getting a Neuralink. I would not want a Neuralink. All I'm saying is if I was in the job force actively competing, which I will be again, and everybody's competing at an advantage, no, I don't want to jump off a cliff if they all jump off a cliff. But if there's a tool that I can access that others, because it's only getting more effective or more accurate.
Yeah, but again, that goes back to at what cost are you willing to gain success?
True.
And that's an individual judgment. I mean, same thing like we talked about the other night with athletes.
But there's a difference in gaining success and being rendered irrelevant, because there's someone who might not normally have the capacity or the abilities that you do, but they're one click away from that knowledge. Or if you believe in Neuralink, they can just download it. That doesn't mean they're going to have the hand coordination to do what you do, but I'm talking about other jobs.
Right. No, I just meant as in it's an individual choice if you're willing to be competitive in something solely for taking on an advantage, whether it be like PEDs or, whatever it may be. Some people are going to do it in a heartbeat and other people won't because it's against what they believe. I mean,
I agree with that.
That comes down.
I think it's
the same thing with business as well too. There's you have ethics involved, and some people have them, and some people don't, and they're going to do whatever they can to gain a leg up, and that is the bane of running a business, is towing that line as far as doing the best you can for your bottom dollar, whether or not you have shareholders or you're an individual company, to make money but still operate a ethically run successful
let your
business.
morality guide you more than your pro forma.
So that's always going to be a balancing act. Knife nut, that didn't clear you out to be the point where you could relax and enjoy this?
Yeah, we get off the deep end. I was going to talk about a knife, but now I'm so transfixed.
Sorry.
No, I'm kind of kidding, dude. I
I
haven't even gotten finished with my coffee and gotten into my grape hemp soda yet.
I enjoy talking about things other than knives, but I will definitely talk knives.
No, I'm being sarcastic, dude. And I know that life things right now are crazy. I mean, there's crazy stuff going on in India and Pakistan. I don't know if y'all saw that.
Yeah, that popped off this afternoon about 4 o'clock.
Yeah. And it's just it's crazy times. I'm in, like I say, different types of live streams, and people are just talking about, and these are both sides. You know, they just feel that things are getting ready, just changing. You know, and I think change is good in a way.
That situation could get very, very ugly.
The India.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was listening to some. That's kind of like the doomsday scenario in a lot of ways.
Well, isolated doomsday scenario, but yes,
Locally.
That's not something that's going to go global, but in a targeted area that could get very, very nasty. Yeah,
hopefully, and I don't know how much bureaucracy happens and all this stuff because I don't understand it, but I don't know like how much interest we have in stopping it, right, or getting involved diplomatically, or how much leverage we have. I would assume we have a lot of leverage, but I don't know that.
To a point, and I'm sure they're trying to be talked down.
I care. Cold steel all-terrain chopper. I'm not sure I know what that is.
That's 50-50, Craig. Javon cares, I don't.
I care very dearly and deeply. Cold steel, what was it called again, Kyle? I can't read it. I'm in Google.
All-terrain chopper.
There it is.
Later, Jesse.
Later, Jesse. Oh, dude, that's a beast. That looks like a fun go out in your backyard or on your campsite and just find zombies. That's an awesome looking machete. I'm excited for you. And it's $5 less than my kukri, and I like it better.
Craig, I did see your comment earlier about the lady from the restaurant, and congratulations, that's awesome. And funny at the same time.
How did I miss that? I miss everything. I don't know why I asked that question. That was rhetorical. Yeah.
I'll find it. Here you go, Javon. I posted it. There you go.
That's funny. I saw a video. I don't know how accurate it was. It was showing the best way to sharpen an axe, according to this guy. And he took a grinder. Isn't that the little tool that you put a wheel on and it's exposed on one end? Isn't that called a surface grinder?
Bench grinder.
Bench grinder. And he was talking about you don't want a brand new. He was looking at the different types of attachments, and you want one that's a little bit used. And he would take it and he'd put them on, and he just lay his axe up there in a vise and got this thing so sharp. He took a Sharpie and he marked the bevel, and then he marked about half an inch above the bevel, following, I don't know if that's just the line he guided on because I only watched it. I wasn't listening to what they were saying, but it looked really cool. I don't know. I've seen those little stones that they sell to sharpen axes with, but I wouldn't know where to start.
And there's more than one way to do it, but a lot of people do them on power tools because they're so thick behind the edge, they don't want to do them by hand.
Like a belt grinder or a grinder?
Or like that, yeah, that bench grinder. But I disagree with the whole using old wheels. But
I hadn't seen Donzo either, but let's test my effects. Is this loud? Do I have that too quiet?
That's pretty quiet.
I have not seen Donzo. I saw him live. I was in his live yesterday when he was making knives. I love just turning that stuff on and watching. Usually I'll fall asleep on the couch listening to that shit.
I've been
Paul Mills, he was actually watching Yonko play Stardew earlier and said he was falling out. I don't know who that was about. Is that about Donnie?
I think so. Craig, I'll give you one tip. The one by doesn't have variable speed and it runs very, very fast, so be careful. Not only will you remove a lot at a time, but you can definitely overheat it quickly, so make sure you're dunking it.
I'm going to pin that link for anybody that wants to watch it. That Craig, let me find it again over here because I've got to get it. Here it is. I just pinned that video that is, where'd it go? I had it pulled up right here. It was just a longer video. I've learned that anytime I watch a video on YouTube, I get hammered. Especially when I'm watching stuff that like animal videos. Like when I'm sharing that shit. I saw that White Mountain Knives had, and I've heard they don't work very well, but the Canyon grinder attachment in stock, which seems like a weird thing to buy if you're a knife dealer.
I mean, they serve a purpose for people that don't want stones and they just want something quick, but it definitely can be detrimental if you're not doing it correctly.
Well, I know he's been working getting stuff ready for Blade Show.
No, he was talking about he was watching Yoko earlier.
Ah, so he saw him in there. Got it. Got it. Have you ever used OBS, Kyle?
I have not, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I was reading about it today. I almost downloaded it, and I couldn't understand why I would want it because you can use it through StreamYard. And I guess you have more flexibility in the layouts and stuff. But I bailed. I backed out of it.
It's a much more versatile DIY type of system where you can have much more. It's more confusing, but you have more access to everything you're doing. And it was designed more for like podcasts originally, but
right.
It's pretty powerful. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's free.
It is free. It's an open source. And what I found, because I researched it for about 2 hours before I decided to back out, but there's a very step-by-step, not only help forum or help guide that shows you how to do it, but then there's a user forum that's, people seem to respond right away. So I think a lot of people use it.
It's used in lieu of StreamYard. You wouldn't use it in combination necessarily. You would do it.
But it says you can.
You can, but I think it'd be typical. Most people would do one or the other.
Redundant.
Right.
But what I'm wondering is, because I know when people use OBS, they have to use another app called Restreamer to put it on multiple. I don't think OBS will send it to different places. I don't understand streaming. That's why I use StreamYard not very well.
You should be able to have different access codes to punch in for your streaming services to be able to put it on different platforms. Because don't you get a code every time you sign in for Rumble to stream?
Only on Rumble, yeah. And I was going to check and see if Rumble's live. Hold on. The browser can't access your screen. Try capturing a different screen. Ooh, you know what that means? They've got screen sniping blocked. Did you see that message, Kyle? It popped up when I tried to share that.
Where at?
It was on the screen. I just tried to share Rumble to see if I was live, which we are on Rumble.
No, it's not showing up on StreamYard.
Well, watch what happens when I try to share it. I'm going to do it again. So you can't see where it has a big red box that says the browser can't access your screen. Try capturing a different screen to see if it discontinues. Let's see.
No, you're not. Are you presenting? Because I can't see you.
No, I'm not presenting yet. Because when I go to present it, now it's presenting it.
There we go. Okay.
So it wasn't a thing, so it's not playing. But we're live on Rumble. I don't do Rumble for any other reason than when YouTube was doing kind of crazy stuff and Instagram was banning all my posts. I started at first uploading videos and then realized nobody watches videos on Rumble. It's just a streaming service. So I tried to stream to Twitter too, but Twitter I have to have a verified account.
It's never bad to do platform that way. That way you have backups. But
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
it for other things besides just knife stuff. I watch it for other things. But Louis, when I sharpen a knife, it cuts paper going from top to bottom just fine. But when I go to cut the piece of paper left to right, it snags. Okay, so that typically can be from your geometry. Let me grab a piece of paper. Hang on.
Can it be by, because I noticed that I'm bad at cutting paper. Sometimes laterally, it's the way I'm holding the blade.
So, okay, like this. If you're talking about going, let me see if I'm doing like, so if I have the paper like this, I'm going to tip it this way so it's technically straight up and down. If I'm going like that and it cuts straight down, fine, right? But if I go to side to cut it like that, you're saying you're having problems?
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying. He goes to left to right, snags like the knife's edge is going.
So that typically is based off of the geometry and the keenness of it. So like this is a pretty thin blade stock, so I can do both, right? If I've got something that's a little thicker behind the edge, let me get, okay, so like this, the Mordax is a little thicker, right? And that's a little bit higher edge angle. So I can do straight up and down fairly well. Not great, but side to side is much better. And I can do, actually that one's not the great. I'm gonna have something on that. But I can
you
do
overcome that geometry with sharpening without reprofiling, or is that just going to be
that's your geometry as far as you would need to lower your angle to get more of the keenness to go.
I got you. So you sharpening at that same geometry with a better job is not going to change that result going down to side to
Some
side.
of it could be because like that I've got something clearly. Yeah, I got a little something there. So let me try to hone that, or I mean to drop that real quick.
Hey, Paul's asking if that's a titanium Mordax.
Aluminum. This is the old school one from Drop.
Which nobody believes me, but I measured it. The blade is thinner on the new ones. By not a lot, but it might differ.
Yeah, so that's better now. It's still, you see how it wants to
push instead of cut.
Yeah, so that's based off of the angle. Like that's better. The thicker the angle, the better it's going to be like a push cut like that versus a slicing cut. I can still do it, but it wants to catch a little bit more.
Makes sense.
But if it's a thin blade stock, you can do both. Let me see if I got anything else that would show that off.
Were the original Mordax is 20 CV? I think they worked there, made by We, right? No, they were made by Protec. Duh.
Yeah, so like this one, that's not a very steep angle. You can see that bevel's not real big, right?
Right.
But that's super thin behind the edge. So that can do.
Oh, wow.
But it can also do straight cuts. So that's based on your geometry and behind the edge thickness, Louis.
He says good, so he's not doing anything wrong.
No, so if you've got something that's thicker, like that Mordax that I showed, two ways that you could affect that would be one, drop the angle a little bit. That's still going to make it, technically it's going to make it even thicker behind the edge because you're taking off more metal going up it, unless it's got a hollow. If it's a flat, you're going to be thickening it. If it's a hollow, you're fine. And also making sure that when you're deburring, you're going up a little bit in grit, so that way you're making sure the edge is as keen as possible and you're getting no snags on your if you do the finger nail test like there. Even though I just dropped that, I can still feel a couple little
Snags.
small micro ones, and that's what's going to grab on those side.
Are you confident that you can get that out to strop, or do you feel like you need to go back to a hone?
If I spent more time doing that, I might be able to get it out the strop. If not, I go to a hone and do it real quick. It wouldn't take long.
And just probably use your hand since you're good like that, or would you put it back in the machine?
No, I'd probably do a hand real quick just to knock that out and then strop it and be good. But the you can counteract that a little bit, but it depends on the grind and it depends upon if you do lower it, you can make it a little keener, a little sharper, but it's going to lose a little bit of toughness overall. So Spy 27 is closer to S45. I don't like it though. I like S45, but I don't like Spy 27 is Spyderco's proprietary version of S45, but I'm not a big fan of it from them, obviously because no one else makes it, but I just don't care for it that much.
That's not one of their ultra corrosion resistant steels, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it has the same characteristics as S45. I just don't like it as well as S45 done by other people.
So do they go to somebody like Crucible in the past or somebody and get them to make that?
I don't know.
Because they don't make steels.
They don't, but they have it made for them. I don't know their business.
I bet cells get made in China.
I can probably say that's not happening.
I'm kidding.
I know. Paul, it does at first until you get comfortable with it, or if you don't have steady hands, for sure, don't do it.
I cut my thumb early on doing that once, but I've gotten to where I've learned to just use the outside of my thumb, and you're barely putting any pressure. You're just feeling for. And if you've got a loop, do you do both?
No.
Yeah, you don't have to. If you can get away from that, if you've got a good little magnifier.
No, I'm saying I go the opposite way. If I'm just testing it to see, I can feel it quicker than I can see it.
So the loop's mainly for your grip pattern.
Correct.
That's awesome, Toyota and Tools. I saw that Erica was doing a test on a MagnaCut mule. I didn't see what she said about it because I don't like her shit.
That's the best one they've done so far.
Huh?
So that's the best one Spyderco's done so far.
Which one?
The MagnaCut mule. It outcut everything that they've done in the mule so far.
Really?
Yeah, Cedric Grenade did a test on it a while ago.
I reviewed my buddy A to Z's got one that what's his name made the handles for. But anyway, beautiful knife. It seems like if Spyderco had a steel made as good as they are with their steels, it would be kind of purpose driven for their knives. Paul's got a mini Arius he would be willing to sell for $650 if anybody's interested, which is a great price. I've got a mini Arius too. I wish I'd carry it more. The full-size Arius is just way too big. I feel like they could do a mid-size Arius that would be perfect for me.
See, we're the weird thing about those is like I like the mini. I don't like small knives typically, but I like the mini ergonomically, but I still like the full size better.
The mini I think would be better if it was a flipper delete.
See, I don't mind flippers. I'm kind of a flipper guy, so that doesn't bother me at all.
I like flippers on certain knives, like the Evo Tempest, and I like it on the Aries. I don't mind it, or Arius. I don't mind it, but
Craig, there's too many variables to say yes in that because it depends on the thickness of it in the steel. So I mean, there are other factors in play, but a lot of that has to do with geometry. And so I mean, if a lot of those kitchen knives, if they've got great geometry, they'll cut even when they're dull.
And Craig could also have his sharpening down to where it's sharp, and then the sound is just kind of there, but it's still really sharp because the sharpening job is done right.
Yeah.
See, I hate that for you, buddy. I can understand that. I can't do anything with my left hand, including masturbate. I can't. I mean, literally, my left hand's worthless. I can play guitar. I can fret chords, which is amazing to me. But I can't play a piano with my left hand.
Speaking of,
huh?
Said speaking of frets, are we excited for the fret coming out before too long?
I'm very excited. Shane and I talked about it tonight. Maybe I may have to make a mod on the main one, but I'm really excited to look at it.
Good. I know he's excited for you.
Shane likes it. I didn't know. I drew a picture with dimensions, right? So I didn't think about stuff that Shane was talking about that I noticed from a lot of my knives, fixed blades, EDCs, the handles being thinner, right? There may be some things, and I'm stoked.
Yeah, I took he's making one for me that I took a couple different ones, inspiration from, and put together. It's a kitchen knife, though.
That's how I did it. I'd look at like a handle and Shane got me started by I invested in some $9 French curves, which I didn't even know what a French curve was, and started drawing. I've got about 11 sketches just that I do when I'm bored, but not because I want to design knives or think I'm capable of it. I just thought that was a cool look. It may need to be a little smaller. I'm definitely better with my left hand. And what's sad or what's unfortunate is I know from watching Lefty's video that frame locks can become very problematic in the left hand if they're not lefties, in terms of you pressing on the lock unintentionally.
Yeah.
And I guess in some cases you've got an advantage. Cut with your right hand, open with your left. I didn't know that, Paulie. You're ambidextrous. I can swing a baseball bat left-handed because I hit a backhand similar, and I can play guitar pretty well, and my left hand's doing all the real brain work, which to me is amazing that it can do that, and it can't pleasure me. How you holding up, Collie?
I'm good, buddy. I'm just reading and kind of fading a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of fading too. We've gone over 3 hours. We've got a few people in here. How's everybody doing? Toyota and Tools is ambidextrous.
I am in certain things, not everything.
Now that's interesting, Ryan. Did you just naturally swing a bat, golf club left-handed? Because I sure as hell can't. But I can hit a ball left-handed, but I can't do it the lineup of the ball, the addressing of the ball. Drink water. How are you, brother?
I'm okay with left-handed with short shots, but not full swings. But I roll it extremely well left-handed.
Interesting, Kathleen. Can you answer that, Kyle?
So there are several
versions.
Well, there are several ones that Laren had out in the wild that were under different prototype names. Like the one that I can kind of talk about it now because Crucible's not around, but the one that he was having Crucible work on for a while was a blend of MagnaCut and Crewware called MagnaWare. And that was a prototype name. I don't know what's going to go under now, but then there was Magnamax, and then there was a couple other versions out there. But I'd heard about that one like a year and a half ago, but I wasn't able to talk about it. But it was just going out for testing to certain knife makers, like Big Brown Bear.
One. I haven't watched the video to see how long ago it was made.
Yeah, Magnamax that's the version that they're saying like K390, but the Magna Wear was supposed to be Crew Wear and Magna Cut, and then there was supposed to be one that was shoot, I forget the name of the next one, but the one I'm kind of interested in, Magna Max sounds cool as far as what the principles are, but if it's going to still just be a stainless K390, it'll still be fragile.
Level on up.
But again, I think you're going to see several different versions come out of under different names. The one I'm interested in is not from any of those. It's from it's a
Uberlung.
Hang on, no, it's the Sandvik. It's a well, no, it might actually be because it's a Nitro V, but it's going to be a beefed up version of Nitro V. And it's going to, I think it's called something Nitro 7 or Nitro something 7. It's going to be an all around better Nitro V, which I think was going to be awesome because it's still going to be in that same affordable range, but perform better. Still have the same toughness, but have better edge retention. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
And I think with metallurgy, like with everything else, you're always going to see advancements and them figuring out how to do it better. As long as there's demand for people who want it done better, right? Which there should be.
Yep. Yeah, Louis, check up. There's I can't remember where I saw the article. If I find it, I'll send it to you. I can't remember, but they've got one come out, something X7 or it looks extremely promising.
Kyle, do we know who's making the Maximat or the Magna Cut and Magna Max and stuff like that now? Is it that other
I don't
company?
know. I don't know who's going to be doing it. And it very well could be just test samples still, because I know that's what he was doing with some of his other steels. Was he was sending them to, like I said, to Sean Big Brown Bear and doing it for testing purposes. But I don't know if Niagara's a dealership, so Niagara wouldn't
The
be.
distributor?
Yeah, they're not the direct manufacturer. They just roll and sell. But they'll have ties with potentially other makers now to be able to do rolling and stuff for them. So there's still a lot up in the air with who's going to be making stuff. So we'll see. Time will tell.
Speaking of rolled steel, before we get out of here, have y'all ever seen those YouTube videos where they test rolled steel falling off a truck, running into a car?
No, that's some freaking what was that called?
Cars are empty.
No, I know, but what was that? That little movie like that, Terminal something, or I can't remember. It was like 20-some years ago. It came out where it's like all these scenarios of what bad things that happened. And that was one where the tubes fell off the truck and went straight to the windshield of a car going behind it.
Oh yeah. Oh, wait, like several ways to. What is it called? Something Ways to Die or something.
I forget what that show was called, but they made a couple of them.
The Tesla's the worst, and Teslas, when they wreck hard or get crushed, they turn into infernos. I mean, little infernos.
Yes, thank you, Ryan. Thank you,
Check
Craig.
this out.
Mills,
And
it's
Dark
super hard to
Gravity told
get.
me about this, how dense and how heavy this is, because I pass these on the interstate all the time.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
watch this.
yeah, man, that thing weighs
30 tons.
yeah, so that's roughly 15 times the weight of an average car.
Yeah, wait till the Tesla's there, because that happened. What was that basketball player's son who was getting ready to get drafted? Gilbert Arenas' son, who wrecked his Tesla last week.
Yeah.
And it just burst into flames because of the batteries. Watch when this. Well, maybe it's not on this one. Hold on. Steel roll versus Tesla.
Paul, I don't know if you heard me or not, but S125 is hard to acquire.
What's weird to me about it is, Pinto's got such a bad rap for when people rear-ended them, catching on fire.
You're talking about Fieros, not Pintos.
What?
You're talking about the Fieros, not the
No,
Pintos?
Pinto. The Pinto was the one that caught on fire all the time when it got rear-ended. Fieros were just
those caught on fire all the time too.
All right, check this one out because we've got a. I don't know who tests these, but they're fucking up some nice cars.
Well, they have to.
Watch this.
Ooh.
No, it didn't do that like magnesium fire. I mean, it's this next one it does. Oh, it didn't. Anyway, I've seen them and they just go into flames because the batteries all explode at once.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to that young guy who wrecked his Tesla. People on the street pulled him out. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I think he fell asleep. S145. You know, I put scales, Carl. I don't know if you saw earlier. I put scales on my Blurple PM2.
Okay.
This is my S110.
Okay.
It's the first over $100 knife I bought. My second Spyderco. I've had it for about 5 years, and I've never sharpened it. Now, again, I don't use it as my only knife, but it's still just as slicey.
I've only got one PM2, and it's bougie. I'd love to have and they never made one that, as far as I'm aware of. I'd love to have one of the Tantos and a super steel, like a.
Was M4 not a super steel?
Yeah, but I meant something like a Maximeter or.
Oh yeah.
Something like
I love
that.
my Tanto. Mine's S30V.
Yeah. That's such a good looking blade.
It's a sexy knife. It's my I like the Warncliffe too, but I think my Tanto is my favorite because the blade's so heavy. It just feels better.
Yeah, I didn't get down with that Warncliffe. I never liked it.
Plus, it doesn't look great, but it's a slicing machine.
That was a Cutlery Shop exclusive, wasn't the XHP?
Yeah. CTX XHP.
Yeah.
This is one that I picked up from. I traded Justin from OCD. This is his Spyderco club knife.
Okay.
It's got his number on it. But yeah, it is the Cutlery Shop exclusive. It had
1.6.
Yeah, the Tanto is awesome, Paulie.
And this
Got a
is
nice hollow, really thick blade stock for a PM2, but it's got that hollow. Hey, that's nice. Are those carbon fiber? What are those? Titanium? Oh,
zirconium.
Zirconium. Nice. Where'd you get those?
Mettenboss. Zirconium scales, zirconium plug, the gear tie clip and backspacer or tie, all tie hardware.
Me too, Craig. That's when I was growing up seeing them getting hit.
I just remember in the 90s it was the Fieros. Those were blowing up constantly too. Did the same thing. The gas tank was right there in the very back. They had fires.
I got killed in a car wreck in high school, was in a Fiero with this other dude, one other dude, and we went across some railroad tracks really fast and 360 twice and stayed in the same lane. There wasn't traffic because it was late at night. So yeah, Ford's Deadly Blender. There's a whole like 18-minute thing on it. But yeah, Fieros might have too because they were mid-engine, right? I don't know where the gas tank was, probably in the back, but they were mid-engine cars for sure.
I just remember those funny as people used to do. There were those cheap Testarossa kits and put them on the Fieros, like they're fooling anyone.
See, for me, impact in a car wreck like Dale Sr. is one way, but to be stuck in a car and have it catch on fire, fuck that.
The worst one I ever had was in it had to been late 90s Celica. Remember those? That body style? It was in Celica GTS. I was a passenger and turning left at a stoplight. Guy ran a red light in a full-size truck and hit us doing 45. And I was staring at the grill. And the tires on my side of the passenger side of the car ended up flipping up sideways and were like hovering. And that thing turned into basically a big V and totaled it instantly. And luckily we all walked away from it. But I got a really nasty pointer in my leg that had me down. I couldn't walk for a week.
Dang, dude. I didn't know. Ours was a near miss. It was an actual crash. So this is what YouTube Music Portal just shared with us on the history of the Pinto.
Yeah.
Why is it not playing? Oh, there it goes. Why is it lagging? Watch this. I don't care who you are. That's kind of funny. But there's all kinds of videos if you go Pinto fires. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt there are a lot that have been like that. But you never hear about Teslas. And they always, I mean, it's not just a fire. It's like since the batteries are all on the floorboard, it's just like an instant oven, like a kiln.
Well, lithium-ion batteries are very flammable. And when you puncture or you vent them, they get very violent. Same as, 18650s. That's what's in a Tesla.
Yeah, and
they're battery packs of these in a Tesla, and when they vent, they get nasty. And when you got that many of them together, it will cause a very combustible scenario.
What's the deal with them in water? Because I remember during the floods. Here's one. Watch this video. Let's watch it. That's just in a flooded garage where I guess the batteries reacted to the water. I remember seeing
it probably corroded the leads and then vented them from that, shorting out.
Well, I remember seeing it. Let me see if I can find it. I remember seeing it when the hurricanes, I don't know if it was Katrina, and there was a bunch of security footage. Yeah, but they're scary to me. I would like to drive one, but yeah, EV5s.
I've never owned one.
Yeah. Well, you think about it, they're not, from what I've heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but from what I've heard is the power and the carbon footprint that it takes to power one, you're not really offsetting.
It's way more than a gasoline car. It's not offsetting, it's way more.
That's what they look like when I see them. Because they burn from the underside and there's nothing left. It's just a total.
Yeah.
Paul,
I don't know who 64 is. The only one I know is Justin's.
Because it's such a hot fire. What did you say? Magnesium? Is that what's in it? This one caught on fire at a charging station.
That's what the battery makeup is.
So it was just plugged up charging. But yeah, I don't do fire. 64, Paul? No, I don't know. That's not Justin's. Justin's got a much lower number.
Justin's a 16.
Yep, 16. But does that mean when you join that you're buying every Spyder cut that comes out?
Yep.
Nice. But I guess you can turn them around if you're Justin. You've got a website.
Yeah, you can turn around some, but you're obligated to get every variant that comes out when the new catalog comes out.
Do you pay for them annually, or do you just pay for them when they're released?
When they're released.
Gotcha. Oh, that does suck, dude. There's a video over in I don't know if it's Ireland or where, but there's this flooded road that's just flooded around the corner, and this camera set up watching all these different cars come through there, and the ones that make it through and the ones that flood out at the bottom, and a couple of really nice Porsches don't make it through.
Craig, the 7 was amazing with that rotary. I love those.
Those
The
were
8
boxer engines, right?
No, it was a rotary engine.
Oh, that's what I meant, rotary. You're right.
The 8s, they just looked funny to me. I didn't like the way they looked, and I didn't like that little side door. But they cool nonetheless. But no, the Subarus and with the Subaru BRZ and the little Scion, those are using the Boxster engines.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. And the yeah.
Paul, yeah, and you also get a lot of stuff that you'd never want. It's just like,
and there's so many Spydercos that I would say Spydercos. I love the ones I have, but it's a minority of what they offer. There are so many more Spydercos that don't even attract my attention than the ones that do.
nice, Ryan. Those are awesome.
Very nice.
You could get rowdy with some of those builds on them too. I had a buddy that had one that was disgusting. And the old one that people don't remember too is the old what was it, Mitsubishi Talon, which was
Oh yeah.
no, it wasn't what Mitsubishi. It was the Eagle Talon. It was the same as the Mitsubishi Eclipse, and
Made by AMC or Jeep, right?
But the Eagle Talon came in an all-wheel drive version, and I had a buddy who had got one up to like 500 something at the wheels, and that was just insane. It was fun. Yeah, they handle well, Craig. I just like the rotary, the noises and everything.
That's awesome, Ryan. Guys, it's 1:30. It's been going about 3.5 hours. We all need sleep. I love each and every one of you. Thanks for hanging out. Those of you who stayed this long, or those of you who just come by for any amount of time. Kyle, do you got anything to share with these lovely people?
Nothing really. Just have a good week. Be good to others. And that's it.
And look out for the guy to your left, guy to your right. Look out for each other. Love in your heart. And remember, debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.
Back in my bag, yo. Conscious. ISO.